if you ever thought you knew what was going on with her, and God forbid you tried to confront that. But when her life was unpolluted, she could be the sweetest, warmest, most loving person in the world. She was also incredibly stubborn, which maybe explains me.
Ari Aster has been one of the most interesting recent directors who have started working in the horror genre. He began his work as a film student at the American Film Institute. While he was there, he wrote and directed 2 incredibly controversial short films. The first one, The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, is a deeply disturbing piece about a son who molests his father. Aster made it with Brandon Greenhouse, who plays his son Isaiah, and it came from a discussion about subjects that were too taboo to even be shown on film. Greenhouse and Aster came up with the idea before they even got to AFI, and Aster used it as his thesis. The second one, Munchausen, was a totally silent horror film and was about a boy who is trying to leave for college as his overprotective mother tries to force him to stay. It was inspired by Pixar, especially the opening sequence from Up. With those 2 films made, Aster graduated from the AFI's directorial program and then conservatory graduate program with an MFA in directing. By 2017, A24 was set to produce Aster's first feature-length film, and filming began in Utah. Tonight we're going to talk about Ari Aster's feature-length debut, Hereditary. We have discussed Midsommar and Beau is Afraid on this podcast before, Aster's second and third films. Our Midsommar episode definitely needs a part 2, as we really didn't cover enough of it. Hereditary, genuinely one of the scariest horror movies of the 2010s, was an impressive and highly disturbing debut from a director who, as a student, continually showed a knack for pushing boundaries and causing controversy through art. Aster was inspired not just by horror, but by domestic dramas. Domestic dramas are theater which focus on the characters' intimate lives as events unfold around them. They generally focus on the domestic sphere, the home life, and the family unit, with family dynamics and conflict taking center stage. And the first half of Hereditary, in Ari Aster's estimation, is all about the domestic drama and tragedy. Aster considers the film to be 2 interrelated half-stories. The second half, with the family tragedy set in place, is a full-born nightmare. The film stars Toni Collette, who is both the family center as the miniature artist Annie Graham, but also the film center. Her mother, Ellen, with whom she had a fraught and difficult relationship, and who was both emotionally unavailable and secretive, has died, leaving Annie and her husband Steve, played by Gabriel Byrne, to take care of the burial and funeral. Annie and Steve have 2 children, Peter, played by Alex Wolff, and Charlie, played by Millie Shapiro, an actress with cladiocrinial dystosis. In the film's first half, Annie deals with the grief and trauma of mourning a mother she never really knew. As the film ramps up, things become stranger and more disturbing. Charlie is killed in a freak accident. Ellen's grave is repeatedly desecrated. Annie attends a bereavement group and is convinced to perform a seance. The mystery of Ellen's life gets deeper as the film careens towards a nightmare. Ellen's secretiveness begins to make sense as the truth, Annie's ancestral heritage, her mother's involvement in an ancient demon-worshipping cult, which holds King Paimon, a demon spirit who must inhabit a male host, as the object of their worship who they hope to summon. Paimon has a long history in both Christianity, where he's one of Lucifer's 72 acolytes, and in the occult, where Aleister Crowley writes of him in the Goetia. the Lesser Key of Solomon. He could teach us all arts and sciences and other secret things. He could discover unto thee what the earth is, and what holdeth up in the waters, and what mind is, and where it is, or any other thing thou mayest desire to know. Ari Aster conjures up all of this in a legitimately disturbing and terrifying film, which manages to explore loss, grief, family love, and ask the question, what if these family secrets are better left in the ground?
You're all right now. You are Paimon, one of the 8 kings of hell. We have looked to the northwest and called you in. We've corrected your first female body and give you now this healthy male host.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends is a new split LP with Lung Adult Prom, available now on Bandcamp, and it's Bandcamp Friday. Pause the stream and get Adult Prom now. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Renee Ruin is the host of the Night Shift podcast with Bonnie Burton and Jenna Hayes, hosts Ruin Radio, and is a blogger, writer, poet, and the head of Ruin Agency. I am your host, Forrest Miller, who has been fully inhabited by King Paimon. Let's do this seance, baby.
That's right. He is mad sexist too. Already got good comments going.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I gotta say though, isn't anything pretty much related to Lucifer, or most of it is inherently sexist. So
talk about a patriarchy.
No surprise.
Yeah.
No surprises.
He was the one that gave them the apple. You know what I mean? And that's like the original sin. He caused
so, like
all
cults, all cults and like people that are really into it, like they always,
Wait, so I have a question to start this off. Did you guys?
By the way, 8 Kings of Hell. That sounds like a nightmare. It sounds like being at like a DSA meeting or something.
Yeah,
it sounds horrific. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. We're passing around the Satan, like the Satan talking stick. Anyone who has it. I know.
God. No,
but I have a question for all you guys to start this off. So did you guys watch Ari Aster's films in order? Like, did you guys start off?
I did.
Was there one that? Yeah, and did you see it in theaters?
I did not see it in theaters personally. I actually only watched Hereditary like 2 years ago, I think, and then like I watched Midsommar. Excuse me, we got the
Midsommar.
About 3 weeks afterwards, and then obviously Beau was Afraid when I saw it in the theaters, obviously, because we did that. How about you, Renee?
Yeah, I did. I watched it. Yeah, I've watched Ari's stuff from start to finish. I haven't seen Beau was Afraid yet. I was actually talking about that last night. That's one I have to catch up on.
I love it. I mean, it's crazy, but it's
yeah. Well, I was
awesome.
Involved in when we were like my old workplace. We were promoting it when it was in cinemas before it went into cinema and then in cinemas. So I was following it as it was all evolving, and I was like, ooh, I was waiting for it.
It was cool doing that episode because we kind of all had real-time reactions to a movie you really need to think about for a long time, and like we're all kind of in a state of shock almost, but in a way different way than
we all
this
saw it
one
on different
is.
days, so we all had different time periods. Because you were, I think you were doing.
I saw it, yeah, and I think I saw it before. Well, I saw it before Andy and KT for sure. I don't remember. Yeah, but I had a little more time.
I saw it a week before we did the show. I think I saw it like either the Wednesday or the Thursday before we did the show.
Yeah.
And you were doing shows, and I was like, oh my god, that movie was crazy. So then you went to see it, and then I think Andy and KT saw it.
Yeah, we saw it together.
Yeah, but I think you guys saw it the day before we did the stream. Like,
yeah,
I'm not even sure.
Not enough time.
Yeah, we were kind of joking. I think like Conan and I were like, are they gonna make it? Like, are they gonna?
Because it's so long.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, are they gonna make it in time for the show? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we left the day before. It took us like 2 hours after the show started to finish.
Because I saw Midsommar in the theaters in 2019.
Oh,
and then I think a week or I don't know, like a month later, I was like, I should probably watch Hereditary since that movie was crazy. And I don't know why I like watched them out of order, but like when Hereditary came out, I just wasn't in a state where I was like, I'm gonna watch a 2-hour horror movie. Because I'm like, I go back and forth on horror movies. Like it's not the genre that I like necessarily choose to watch.
That's how it was sold to me. Is like, well, Conan, I know you're pretty picky about your horror movies, and this is like one of the more interesting horror movies to come out in years. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll check it out based on that recommendation alone. I almost think Midsommar is like the most normal of the three of them.
Yeah.
Which is not normal.
But don't connect like that. Midsommar is, Midsommar and Hereditary are by the same
dude, yeah, and they're also different. And Beau is Afraid is very different as well.
And then
they're all about intergenerational trauma too, which is weird because like they are all very different.
Yes.
So I watched when we watched Beau is Afraid. I went back and I tried to watch it shorts, and I made it 8 minutes into The Strange Thing About the Johnsons.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not. He starts sucking off his dad, and I was like, nope. I'm not doing this. Like, this is not.
I'm not. Yeah.
Oh, so you never got to Beau?
What do you mean?
There's a short he did called Beau.
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
Okay,
it's fine. Anyway, it's wild. This is his first like feature picture, man. This is a crazy debut.
He was 29 too, which is like I think that's pretty amazing for a director.
Yeah, like
to produce something this good at that young age.
A24 just gave him like a bunch of money because of his stuff with AFI, and they like took a chance on it, which is why it's good to have something like A24. Like I don't know any other. He came to them with a full script, obviously. Like he wasn't like writing the script while trying to pitch it. He had written a script, and he was like, "I want to produce this," but they had bought the rights to some of his stuff. I think at like film festivals. They go around and they try to find talent, and because AFI is such a prominent force. Whatever people do from like the American Film Institute obviously gets pushed to kind of the top of all film festivals. So they were like interested in him, and he went around pitching the things and stuff. And A24
because he's coming from that world already, so it's a natural. Everyone talks to each other and hangs out and sees each other's stuff, works on each other's things. It's about the only equivalent to like that. That world of like the new Canadian cinema, like the late '90s, that Sarah Polley and and all them, which we've inadvertently covered a bunch of those films, but like not like with any planning really.
For sure.
But I think it's wild. Like it's crazy. This is so. First of all, okay. Like, let's operate under the assumption that if someone is watching it or listening to this, you've seen the film, right?
Yeah, you have to have seen the film. Spoiler alert is going to be spoilers all the way through this.
So it has to have one of the most jarring scenes in modern cinema, right? Which is the Gareth from USA Nails sent it in emojis, which was just a car girl pole.
Yeah.
And like when I saw that, I knew it was coming. That part had been quote unquote spoiled for me, and I still was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, see, that part
you're still not prepared for it. And just the whole scene is just amazing. The actors
I went in dark. Like I went in not knowing anything.
That's almost better. But I even somebody told me, and I forgot about it, and then I was just like, "Oh, la di da da," and then I was like, "Oh."
The only thing I knew about it going in is that it was Ari Aster, obviously, and I had just watched Midsommar, so I was like, I kind of had a feel for what his cinema was. And the only other thing I knew about it going into it was that it was really fucking scary. And I was like, but like, I don't know, I get disturbed very easily. Like I get anxious in movies. I don't necessarily get scared. This is one of the few movies that I legitimately felt like scared, like that legitimately like felt haunting after watching.
It is a freaky movie. Like there's such a resting state of dread throughout this entire film.
And people have mentioned in the comments like the anxiety. There's a constant boiling up of anxiety as you're watching it, because everyone in the film is so anxious.
Yeah.
Like
there's so
much unspoken tension and anxiety throughout the entire film.
I've managed to prank multiple people by going just randomly.
I can't.
It's so freaky.
I can't do it. I can only
See that's why I asked in the chat, like, can you guys do it? Because
I thought you want to do like a promo of all of us doing it or something. Like, what's he planning? What's he trying to do? Like,
we're gonna release a new track, Conan.
Yeah,
I've always kind of like the same way I guess she does in the movie, like kind of like autistically or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like done that, like kind of just as like a thing, like as like a
it's like a stemming kind of thing. Yeah.
So, like when I was a kid, because I don't really stem that much anymore, like as an adult. Like I foot tap and like have ADHD kind of stuff, but like as a kid I used to always go like and make that sound a lot. Funny. So like watching this, I was like, am I just like a fucking boy version of fucking Charlie? Like
watch out if so.
It's a base vocalization when you're trying. It can be like a lot of autistic children have it. It's a base like thing that you use like to express emotion when you can't. So usually kids that are non-verbal and non-emotive, clicking is the most basic form of and I know with this film it was like obviously very intentional, but it's sort of, don't want to spoil anything too soon, but it's there as a vehicle to let you know basically that Charlie may or may not be already gone and has been gone the entire film.
And like maybe that's the only way she has to actually communicate.
That's the only way left that she has. She's completely trapped and
so horrifying. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, and like rewatching it this time, especially like and going into it, because I like take notes for everything and like try to like I never check the notes back again, which is kind of funny. Like I'll write like multiple pages of notes.
I have about 20 tabs open on my phone.
Yeah,
he just likes taking notes, people. He just enjoys it.
No, I write it down. And, like,
sometimes you remember it better that way.
I'm doing a bit, dude. Yeah, come on.
But it's also just like I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna check the notes this time, and then I just don't. Like,
this is that. This is the show. No.
But no. So one thing that I noticed is that they make reference to multiple other family members that they've tried to put the payment spirit into, clearly, and they mentally broke down from it. And then at the end of it, they make it clear that Charlie was one of the family members that they had tried to, like the grandma was trying to like basically groom her into being Payman. That's why she was so attached to her. And it just wasn't working because Payman's, sexist, I guess. But
Payman's mad sexist, as we've established.
And they also, you got to remember too, that they wanted Peter first.
Yeah.
And Peter, it was Steve who took who was like, no, you can't go anywhere near my kid. You guys are freaks. And put in a rule where there's no contact with Peter.
Yep.
And so it wasn't until later when Charlie comes along that she
was. But not knowing that there was a
not the reason. Yeah.
Like just being
just
like,
they were freaks. They were just like, leave my kid alone.
But also I want to say shout out to Gabriel Byrne. Kind of is cool in this movie.
Good in this film.
Yeah, he's I love him in Miller's Crossing.
He's the kind of glue. I rewatched this for about the 5th time or something last night with my housemate. And it's probably the second time he's seen it. And I was like, the whole time I was just laughing and like, come on, Steve, don't be a party pooper, put the book in the damn fire, dude. Go up in the attic, come on. But like, he's like the glue and like the one who's kind of like stabilized.
Yeah. And he's a psychiatrist, which kind of is.
Which I didn't quite pick up. The first time through there.
Yeah.
No, I didn't the very first time either. I was like, "What's this bum who just walks around?" Well, everyone else is
I've seen it 5 times. Andy, you've seen it twice? No,
once actually. This time because it was heavily spoiled. Like even the ending was spoiled for me. So I'm just like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna wait until I forget about this movie."
But you know what, Andrew? You can watch it so many times. There is so much in this film that. When it came out, the whole movie got spoiled to me, and I'm just like, well, I just want to know if it was good or not. I didn't know he was being possessed by a demon.
Yo, I hate when movie reviews, like when you're reading something and they're
like the entire plot. It's like great.
Yeah, they're like reviewing it, and it's like, well, I don't need to know if it's good if I've already seen it. Like,
So Conan, I've been kind of avoiding
it. I've seen it 3 times. The second time was specifically to show Tony Ash, who was very much an aesthete of horror, and he didn't know anything about it. And the nice thing about that is I'd kind of done a little research about like certain things, like the framing shot. There's like a flash. You see the house from afar, and you see like a flash of light. And if you're looking for it, you see the cultists like around the house, like when it flashes. And so I kind of did the, like whatever, like looked up all the Easter eggs and stuff. And like then I was like spent the time looking for those. And of course was like, all right, look for the naked dude. Like look for like this.
Yeah.
All of and like it was a different kind of freaky experience knowing that, but like it didn't change.
The naked dude kind of looks like Mike Pence.
It didn't change any of the creeping dread at all.
Yeah.
And
No.
and I was just arguing with someone on the internet like a minute ago who first of all thought that Ari was a female filmmaker and thought that it was the same person who did Titania. I don't know how you say it. I didn't like the film very much.
No, Titan.
And said they both were tedious. I'm like, tedious?
Yeah, this movie's the opposite of tedious. You can make more of a case that Beau is Afraid, I think, is tedious than this movie.
Yeah, well, that's a different discussion. We had that discussion.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, it's so on rewatch. I specifically went into it because the whole thing. All right, so you could ruin this film for a lot of people by just being like, oh, well, it's a horror movie from the perspective of the sacrificees. For like an ancient ritual, right? Yeah. But they don't know that that's what's happening. So then once you know what's happening, well, guess what? It's a different experience to like watch it. Even just like when you look at like tiny like little micro motions and like certain choices of phrase and things along those lines. Let alone literally all the hidden stuff that's like, oh, if you look in like the outer frame, there's like some weird freaky stuff that's happening, and there's all this like, weird little symbols and things around, and
there's also a lot of hints about stuff, right? Because just in what she kind of dumps in the she kind of trauma dumps, I guess is the term I was looking for, in the when she's in the group, the bereavement group the first time, and there's so much information in there that's crucial to the rest of the story.
Well, she said the one thing from that I was like, you never find out who it is, but when she says she was here previously for like she'd already been in the group for someone else that had died before Charlie. She says that in the first group session.
Well, she's in there for the grandmother first.
Yeah, but before the grandmother.
Oh, she was
when
in there
she goes in the first session for the grandma, she says that she's already been to group and she found that it helped. But you never know who that person was.
Well, all right. So I know this is what I noticed this time. That whole speech, she talks about how her dad starved for whatever reason and died before she was born, and so her mom she claims her mom has like dissociative identity disorder, right? Like she has like multiple personality disorder, and then her brother killed himself and had claimed that, like, hung himself in his room, and had claimed that the reason he was doing it is because the mom kept putting like other people into him, which then you realize that like he was like a broken host for the payment spirit, that they keep on cycling through these family members trying to like find the proper host, and they've been doing it for decades. So like she's going through all of these different family members that have died in these like psychiatric breaks without realizing that they really were like putting fucking people into, and the mom obviously has multiple personalities because she is both herself and the spirit that, like, you know what I mean, like the Queen Lilith spirit that you never really find out much about besides that it was her like cult name. And so like there's like all this psychiatric stuff, which makes sense why she chose to be married to a psychiatrist, I think, right? Like
he's really the only one.
The bonus features they dated, like he was his therapist.
Hey, Emo Dragon, thank you.
Emo Dragon, fucking Chris loves this movie.
Can't catch the whole episode live. Sending my support. Absolutely love this movie, even if it freaks out every time. We'll play this one back later. Good.
It's kind of funny because I was gonna watch this on Saturday again, which I did, but Chris was arguing with somebody on Blue Sky that was like, this movie sucks, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie again today.
You convinced me. I'm gonna watch it right now.
This is a movie that like I feel like a lot of people misunderstand, because like people that I've spoken to about Hereditary, they either really love it or they really disliked it, which I don't know why there's such
divisive.
a stark it's weird to me that you could hate this film so much.
This movie, I think, is divisive for a stupid reason, though. The fact that like a lot of people had written stuff about it and been like, "It's so scary," which I think it is. This movie freaks me the fuck out.
It's very freaky. Yeah.
But every person that like watches horror movies, like, there's so many people that like to write reviews. They're like, "I wasn't scared at all."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's like, well, good for you, brother.
Yeah,
like,
nobody cares.
Yeah. It's creepy as fuck, and I can go into like this movie I love so much because I can go into like nerd zone for hours talking about
You're already in it right now.
and like, you know, blah blah blah, like forever, because I love this film. Like, I like this film. This is my favorite Ari film, it's hands down. I like it more than Midsommar.
I think Midsommar is mine, but
everyone loves Midsommar, but that's the funny thing. Was talking to some other people about it, and everyone's like team Midsommar, and then I'm like, I'm Hereditary all the way. Like,
I'm with you. I think this is my favorite of his so far. Yeah,
I think I understand why people feel that way, because like this movie is great, but there's a lot of like little things in the edits, like sometimes like letting a scene breathe. I was thinking about this because I watched Sicario and then the sequel, and Sicario really like watch
Villanueva.
Yeah. The
which we did not know how to produce when we did Dune. How to say pronounce. Like Villeneuve?
I'm down to say it wrong.
Sicario.
Anyways,
that's the
Sicario.
Hey.
Which the beauty of that film is just the way he lets like the scenes breathe, and there's a lot of breath, and like he gives every single scene like a time to kind of like, you know, do its part.
Yeah.
And I think with Hereditary, there's some scenes that could have used a little bit more like space in the cut. And I'm not saying that it's bad, because I think sometimes the abrupt cut works too. And it's just like but with Midsommar, he's kind of like learned like, oh wait, I can let some of these scenes breathe a little bit more. And I think there's a little bit more breath to the scenes, because the sequel of Sicario did not have that kind of breath. Everything
but that's not by Villeneuve.
No, it's not, and it's very obvious.
And that's why I skipped it, even though I like the first one quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's kind of enjoyable, but like it doesn't have those that, you know, it doesn't let you breathe and take the time with the scenes, even though it's much more of an action film.
I totally get that.
It's Sicario. Sorry,
but I love that it's so
the Sicario brothers.
So, like, jarring.
Yeah, I think it gets you into the mood of what the people are experiencing.
Yeah,
like it puts you that anxiety.
I like about it is there is no room to breathe, because there isn't any room to breathe.
Yeah,
you're not meant to. It's supposed to be incredibly upsetting and you know, like I said, jarring and just really traumatic. And you don't get that feeling. If they gave you more space to breathe and they elaborated more, I think it would be a different film.
So this kind of brings me into a point that I wanted to discuss, especially now that we have Conan back from his tour. So Colin Stetson did the score for this movie, right?
Great score.
The score is perfect, I think. Ari Aster said that he wrote the movie to Colin Stetson's other music, because he had played with like Arcade Fire. He played with all these different bands, and he was really
he's an avant-garde saxophone player.
Yeah.
Yep.
So but the original one, the score wasn't finished when the movie was, so they made like a whatever, like generic, like royalty free, kind of copyright free score, I guess. And played
we have a score at home. Yeah.
When they were testing it out, and I'd be so curious to watch that version of it, because I can't imagine that version of it works as well as the score in this, because I think the score in this really makes the film.
He did the menu as well, and that was like one of my
that was
of the favorite things I liked about that movie. I thought the score was very strong as well.
We have microphones kicking around. You can just yell it out. We have a microphone over here. Yes, right here in the front section. Hi,
you got a microphone right there.
Right there.
Thank you. Love the movie, Ari. It was fantastic. Just wondering, one of the things that really stuck out, aside from the production design and the performances, and your direction, was the score. I think that it felt so just powerful and so overtaking of evil in the movie. I was wondering how you came across Colin, and how the relationship between you two sort of grew for the film.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Colin Stetson is a brilliant saxophonist and avant-garde composer who by day is, he plays sax for Arcade Fire and Tom Waits and Bon Iver and people like that. But then he's been making these solo albums that sound like nothing else, and they're incredible. And I was actually writing Hereditary to his music. And he's the first person I approached. I approached him 2 years before we went into pre-production. And, luckily he wanted to score films. I think he had scored a couple things before. But I hadn't seen them. That was actually news to me. And then when we started working, I mean, to repeat, the first direction I gave him was that I wanted the film to feel evil. And I was very happy with what he produced in that direction. But I mean, he was sending me ideas and sketches like while we were shooting, before we were shooting. And we agreed that I would not use temp music. And then I went back on that and we used temp music because you need it if you're going to screen it for people. Like the financiers or I mean, Colin's amazing. And if anybody has not listened to his music, you should. I was listening to New History Warfare 2 and 3 when I was writing the script, but he just put out a piece about a year ago that was really amazing. An album. Oh God, I'm forgetting what it's called. It's really brilliant.
We have a question up there.
Was it
very wild?
He's so orcs, isn't he?
He really.
I love it. He's so orcs. He's just like stop for a really awkward long period. Start again.
He's not exactly a wildly charismatic figure. Yeah.
No.
He's leaned into it though as time goes on.
Yeah.
Now he refuses to answer questions about his films. Like one of those fucking auteur directors. It's like, I won't answer these questions about my film. It speaks for itself. And I feel like that actually comes from him being incredibly awkward.
Yeah. I don't want to have this conversation, so I'm going to use this.
He should just start clicking at people.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I would be totally behind that.
We should just do it in unison at the end.
Yeah, we could try. We could.
Well,
it is kind of addictive.
Once you start doing it, you get on a roll.
It literally is stimming. Like it's the thing that like autistic kids do to like feel like normal and kind of like have their like whatever like feel in control or whatever. Because once you start doing it, it's like addictive.
Yeah, you start focusing on it and go.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Yeah, but can we? We'll mention amazing. Yeah, like the actors in this. So Toni Collette, I love her.
Oh my God, how great is she in this?
She's
she was robbed for the Oscar this year. Robbed.
Totally.
It was a daytime robbery.
She's always robbed, I feel like.
She is.
She's always very underestimated and like she's so
they just don't treat Australians as well as.
No, they leave us Aussies out.
Well, and they also
accents.
And I'm the first one to talk about the sort of like sliding scale that people apply to horror, which I find like laughable and mostly annoying because it means that like lots of drivel and dreck comes through. And, oh, it's good. There's good kills. Yeah, but it's a shitty movie. So since it's a shitty movie, it's not worth watching. Sorry. But when it comes to the Academy Awards, there is an anti-horror bias. I mean, it's an anti-genre bias.
Anti-genre film.
Except for biopics.
Ari Aster's work, Ari Aster's work transcends horror, right? Like it's either about family trauma, like this movie.
But not for Toni, it didn't. She did not win the award.
This movie specifically speaks to me. My grandpa. Maybe this is the reason why it's not my favorite of his movies. My grandpa was a kind of like an enigma, like kind of a figure that we did like nobody in my family really understood. And he had this crazy library. When he died in like 2003, like my dad was kind of like trying to figure out like what his relationship with his dad was like, and like was kind of making up this like kind of romanticized version of it in his head, like he always has. And then he had this library that like was full of books about the occult and like just like Eastern religions. Like he had this religious library that was kind of crazy. And like his library even had like these big like spell books where it was like how to hex somebody, like the Aleister Crowley kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So watching this movie and seeing her take apart those boxes full of like the same kind of books that my grandpa had was kind of it hit pretty fucking close to home. And like because I mean, I don't know what the fuck was up with my grandpa, but like it was that same kind of feeling when like when I was going through that library at his house in Maine.
Probably gonna be me when I'm old, mate. I'm gonna have my own library. Creepy shit.
Oh, that's the spell layer. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, so when I was a kid, I found one of those books and I like read something from it and like was like, oh, that's a hex. Like I just put a hex on everybody, and my mom.
My bad, y'all.
No, but my mom freaked out, and every bad thing that happened for the next year, she was like, that's because of the hex. Yeah. That was the hex that you put on stuff. And I think that was the year I almost drowned. So he was like,
you're like, oh no, you were like that's one of the like scenes I think that like was really poignant for me in this film is when like Tony or Annie is talking about how that when they were children, like Peter and Charlie when they were a lot younger, how she had that sleepwalking incident where she puts paint thinner on them and then she wakes up and she's about to set them on fire. And then like me and my husband were laughing like, this poor kid. I'm like, how is he going to school every day? Like he's, his mom's trying to pull his head off and previously she tried to set him on fire. Right. And like all of this stuff. Like the kid's just like so traumatized.
He just smokes a shitload of weed.
Yeah, no wonder he does.
Like,
and like
he mellows him out for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And then like he goes to school and starts banging his head on the table and shit. And it's just all in a week, whatever. Just
yeah, but like I have to imagine like his mom seems put together, right? She's like an artist. His dad's like a psychiatrist. Like you never really know what's going on in somebody's family life.
But it's a slow burn of emotional torment all around.
Yeah.
But thinking about it from the like the perspective of like a person looking at like that kid, right? Like it would seem like his family has it pretty together.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny that like
the
really
trappings are all there. I mean, again,
but in reality, not at all. And he doesn't know how to express his emotions at all. Like he's very closed off. Like just the fact that he, like, is like he disconnects and then he's like he just dissociates all the time. And then when he's in the car with Charlie. And like, even when, there goes
ironically, he dissociates all the time.
Sits there.
And
he
his
just
psychiatrist,
sits there, like,
his psychiatrist dad doesn't do anything about it. Like his psychiatrist dad's like, oh, that's just my kid. Like,
that's my kid. He's just fucked up. And he's like that scene is so amazing where he's just in the car sitting there for ages, just totally dissociated. And then he goes, like when he goes, he knows perfectly well she's not okay. Yeah. And he's like, you okay? And you can tell he's like just trying to tell himself like you're okay. Yeah,
no, I mean it's like the time I hit the deer. It's the same thing. Like I remember I hit a deer. The deer went flying straight up in the air.
It's the exact same
and
thing.
I convinced myself that I didn't actually hit a deer until the deer comically dropped in front of me.
Yeah.
Well, he swerves. He doesn't hit the deer. The whole thing is that he doesn't hit the deer. He swerves around the deer. And that's why he hits the pole.
But that's my sister.
Other than that, it was exactly the same.
No, but so I think.
Can I give a shout out to the dad who's just trying to have a normal one? That's all he's trying to do. The entire movie is just trying to have a normal one.
He's just trying to live.
Yeah, he's not.
By the way, Steve is such a good therapist. Like Steve is such a good name for like a therapist that is not equipped to handle any of his like family shit.
What do you think's going on here, Steve?
When he stops at the intersection after he picks up Peter after he's been slamming his head in the desk, and he just starts, blabbering and crying and shit at the intersection, and you're like, but like he's just like, what the fuck? Every day is something crazy. Going on. Like I don't blame the guy. Psychiatrist or not, you'd be like, this is fucked. Like
he's probably
I married this woman, all of her family dropped dead with crazy shit, and they've all got crazy psychiatric disorders, and like
And Steve's a therapist,
and he gets got in the most surprising way, where Tony's just like, "Oh, well, I know how I'll take care of this. I'll just burn it," and then like he gets lit on fire, and it's like, oh, the one guy that like did nothing wrong, basically.
Yeah.
He tried his best and like just got lit on fire.
Even the deleted scene, if you ever get a chance to check out the deleted scenes, do it, because they actually are quite interesting. They don't add anything to the movie, but there's an added scene where he's saying goodnight to Peter before he goes to bed, and they have this moment, and it's really awkward, but you can tell like Steve's kind of frustrated because like he was trying to get through to his son and isn't, and
right,
you know, it really does make his breakdown have a little bit more meaning to it, I think.
Well, all right, so something that's fascinating. This movie, the script that Ari Aster originally showed, this would have been a 3-hour movie, and a lot of the scenes, like they cut an hour off of it. They managed to, because a lot of the scenes really spelled out, I guess.
Because the dick dad, we didn't need that.
No,
save it for the third movie.
Really,
Men would rather get lit on fire than go to therapy. There you go. Good one, Chapter Black.
Even if they themselves are therapists.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, so they cut an hour's worth of scenes from this, because it's a 2-hour movie. It would have been 3 hours, and a lot of it was, I guess, spelling out more of the relationship between the family.
I don't think you need that though. I think that
I think it's a first-time director thing.
Yeah,
he didn't expect that his actors were going to give him so much, via like I was listening to Alex Wolff talk about it, and he was saying that, like, so much of it is like actors giving each other a look, and that look totally you understand what the relationship is without needing it to spell that out. But like,
it's not spoon fed to you, and that was one of the reasons. That's one of the things that was actually kind of sold to me on. Not that someone's selling it to me, but someone's like, "Oh, I think you would like this."
It's the Ari Aster salesman.
Hey, I got a film for you, kid. Is that it was like, "Oh no, this is not a." Star Wars prequels, we're going to tell you everything and not show you kind of thing. It's like, no, it's all there, but it's like, it was explained to me, it was very subtle.
Just got to look for it, listen for it.
Creepy and full of dread, and you need to pay attention. I was like, okay, this all sounds like stuff I like doing.
None of the cutscenes that were on the DVD really add anything to the movie. Although I will say the scene where he meets one of the naked guys at the funeral for his sister, that was actually... That would have been just made the movie weirder.
Awkward.
Vice President Mike Penis.
We had that like one of the cult members, in the back at Grandma's funeral, like, and he's got that like, "Hi, I'm a WWF fighter" or something look with the buzz cut, and he's just screaming in the background.
That guy's
what's that guy's deal?
You creeper.
Yeah, that was literally part of. I think that was in our.
It was in the thing. Yeah, you captured it. That's what reminded me of it. I was like, oh, that dude with the hair.
Well, and that's just one of the kind of weirdly unsettling things. You're like, what's going on? What's like? What is like? And like, if you're an avid cinephile, then you're going to be sitting there trying to come up with kinds of theories. And whatever it is you thought it was, it's not that. Just because you don't see these kind of stories.
And she kind of like, you don't even need to really see that much of the cult in the funeral, because she says that line where she's like, "Oh, there's so many people here that like I don't even know a lot of you."
Strange faces. Yeah.
And like you could tell that it's like, oh, this is kind of awkward. Like, who the fuck are these people at my mom's funeral? So like that's kind of in itself like a fascinating moment where it's like, I could see a first-time director being like, "Oh, well, we need to show the cult members and have them all meet," and then that one line.
You need their backstories too.
Then it's like. Actually, we don't need any of that. We could just have this one line, and that kind of,
and that takes care of it. I also think that it's notable that Toni Collette's character's relationship with art.
Yeah,
I think is very interesting. And first of all, the fact that she seems to, the dioramas are like a cool, like, you don't see that a lot. It's
dioramas creep me the fuck out.
But they also, when they have little people in them, they are legitimately creepy, right?
Yeah.
You want to go to the Baltimore Museum of Art if you want to see some great dioramas.
I love them, but they freak me the hell out. Like,
well, it's extra creepy if it's people right? Like if it's somebody doing the diorama of like your family, you're like, God, that's I don't. What do you like? Because the thought is like they could pick up your
the one where she's breastfeeding and the grandmother's ripping her shirt open.
Yeah.
Like, What the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
there-
Yeah.
Tony
But
Collette
even
has
the scene where she
an interesting.
recreates the death of Charlie, and like Steve's
Yeah,
like,
no, that's.
and
that's
you're gonna
fucking-
don't let him see that, you know, like, and she's like, it's not.
And that shows
it's not
her
for
husband
him.
is not a good therapist, because most therapists would be like, okay, that's cool. Like you do that through your art, and then that's how you process your emotions. Let's talk about it. And he's like, don't let the boy see that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right. Look,
I feel
look, Forrest, you're not married, okay? So let's just say that maybe there's been other conversations before. Probably. Let's give Gabriel Byrne the.
They cut them out. So
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't.
no,
I probably
that's all the
wouldn't want
deleted
my
scenes.
son to see that, though. To be fair,
Yeah.
I probably would have said the same thing.
Here's one of the here's one of the dioramas again. One would hope that people have seen seen this film if they're listening to this or watching it. But I mean, I think it's a very effective. It's a very effective visual that isn't overly relied on. Like, you almost think like, oh, is this going to be like the thing that causes the horror? Because I know this is a horror movie, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, not really. But I mean, the most horrible thing is that she managed to squander making money at art, apparently. But that's but that's my take on it.
Well, she can spend all this time doing these dioramas, and someone's actually paying for them. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And she can't freaking.
That's a miracle in
get
itself.
it together. Get it together, Tony.
All right, so this is her talking about how hard it was to do the scene where she destroys the
Annie.
diorama.
What is it? Is it the
Yeah,
character's
Annie.
name? Yeah.
But this is the scene where she's
I'm
talking about how hard
disappointed
it
Michael
was.
Jackson wasn't in the cult and just coming up to her going, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie?
Dad jokes.
There it is. He had to get it.
Good night,
Caused
folks.
him physical pain not to.
What is really unusual is Steve Newburn's work on the miniatures. It felt like such a cool place to be able for you to work in amongst that
I'm
stuff.
so happy that you're bringing him up. He and his team were so unbelievably dedicated and passionate, and it's such a painstaking process to create all of those miniatures. And they were just so brilliant at it. They also made all of the necessary prosthetics and
Oh right.
as well as the miniatures. But it's such a huge part of the movie. You know, I play an
course.
artist who kind of, spends her days laboring over this work.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't buy the miniatures, if you don't buy them as works of art, then it really drive a hole into that character. It's the fact that they are so haunting is a part of it.
I felt so guilty because there's a scene where I have to smash them up. In the film, you find me sitting amongst the rubble, but I actually did, film it, smashing them up. They were standing there watching. I felt like I was killing one of their children. It was just like totally heartbreaking.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was very apologetic. Yeah.
you shot it out in Utah,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And I mean, it looks quite barren around the where the family home is. You've got all these creepy miniatures, obviously a lot of creepy setups. Were there any actual sort of creepy moments? I mean, that weren't in the script. There was nothing creepy that happened.
No,
that's
not at
good.
all. Not at
That's
all.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. Are you a fan of horror movies
films?
in general?
Absolutely not.
No, neither am I.
No, but isn't it like this? It is a horror film, but there's so much more to it. It has so much depth and is so profound and complex and layered, and somehow feels realistic. And the horror aspects do come out of something quite honest.
And I mean, yeah, it's not a slasher movie.
Not at all. None of it's gratuitous.
We're starting with something completely different. And like I say, I went in not knowing it was a horror until the music started to tell me something.
And the music is incredible.
okay.
Colin Stetson he contributes so much to this film. The suspense, a lot of it. I mean, we made the movie and the music wasn't there on set. It's kind of added on afterwards. It directly informs the atmosphere. It's so incredible. And he's just playing a modified saxophone. He kind of creates his own instruments, and it's really every sound is from one modified, or maybe several, but it's from the saxophone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask, what I find really interesting is obviously a lot of actors, when they're doing these performances, you're drawing from personal experience, but what do you draw from when you're having to react to something like completely supernatural, completely unexplained? Do you try and find something real, or do you try and move to...
I never do that. It feels kind of like a betrayal, or so it kind of cheapens it. I mean, I had the luxury of working with a brilliant script, and it's imagination. And I think for me, acting is about empathy and kind of aligning yourself with your character. And when you do that, I mean, I think I am naturally an empath, and so it was very real on the page. So I honestly, I said this before, I didn't feel like I had to kind of really build something. It came to me very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now with all presumably lots of people have seen it, because it's so intense, are people reacting to you slightly differently? Because I feel like if I was like a good friend of yours, I'd seen it, I have to just
Take a
avoid
step
you
back.
maybe just for like a couple of days.
Somebody told me the other day they woke up in a panic because they thought I was like in their room and, in a certain position, and I won't give it away because it's a position in the movie. But I mean, I don't mind. That means that the film has affected them, and it is the type of film that will stay with you because it says so much.
Yeah.
I love that she
Get
seems
back to the mutant time.
she seems she seems like a fun person, but she also seems very emotive. You know what I mean? Like her whole
come on the show.
She has
Australians, yo.
But like she's so like she just gesticulates so much, I guess is the term, like when she speaks, like, and her character in this, like it's only interesting because like that Annie character is so not like she's so reserved, and like that's why her like reactions to stuff are so huge, I think, because like the character doesn't have like she gets embodied by stuff, and then she has like crazy body positions and all that stuff, but like when she's just herself, she's extremely reserved, and very like drawn in, and I feel like that's the opposite of the energy that like Toni Collette gives off.
I guess yes, hard agreed and snubbed at the Oscars big time. Okay, there's apparently I'm sorry, I guess I was looking at the chat. There's apparently Hereditary sweatpants, and it's one side is Gabriel Byrne on fire, and the other side is Toni Collette.
Burn, Gabriel, burn.
Because nothing says relaxing around the house like Gabriel Byrne on fire.
His damn $70.
Wow.
$70.
I would love
That's
it if they owned a pair and he just cruises around.
Oh my god, if they went to interviews in them too, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Gabriel Byrne's just chilling on the couch and he's
like, I need to shout out my sweatpants from
That's a great I mean,
the
I would not have thought of that merch item. I think of weird merch items all the time, but
he's so much different in this than he is in like Miller's Crossing. Like, he's very mild and reserved throughout this entire movie, and in Miller's Crossing, he's also very reserved, I think, but his energy is so much more intimidating in that movie than it is in this. Which some of it is definitely like being good at acting, but some of it also I think he's probably getting older and being like a.
Well, he's played a very different kind of role too, right? It's not like even though he's the the patriarch of this family, he's certainly not the one in control. And not
you don't want him to be coke up cop. I mean, that just wouldn't have worked.
He's like the mediator. Like even that, I love the scene, the dinner table scene, and later on he's like, "No, stop this now," and everyone just goes,
"Yeah."
But there's some actors that can't change their like menace, like their energy, right? Like Kevin Spacey, I think, and I felt like this way before we knew all the stuff about Kevin Spacey. Like Kevin Spacey is a good example of like an actor that like he couldn't just be some guy that like works as a therapist, as like a mild mannered husband. Like I wouldn't believe that. Like there's something
Schwarzenegger couldn't do it.
Yeah, so like it takes a certain kind of actor, I think, to be able to change their entire energy from something like Miller's Crossing to this kind of movie where it's like it's almost like if I mean we know that he died because he caught on fire, but like if he had just kind of died of a stroke in the middle of the movie, like who would have noticed that Steve?
Well, because everyone else is such high drama, and it's understandable why. But he's like the only one that's just like, again, I'm going to go back to what I said. He's just trying to have a normal day. It's all he wants.
He's the Irish one
wants
out
to
of
get
all
through
of them.
this life. Yeah.
People are like making like Irish jokes, like, wow, those Irish people are so reckless, and he's the one guy that's like
he's the only grounded one of the lot of them. And granted, there's explanations for as to why, but it's. I mean, in a way, his story is like just as not just as tragic, but similarly, everybody's story is tragic in here. There's nobody gets off easy,
But the thing is that his death's really important because he is grounding everybody, and once he's gone, there's nothing.
Yeah, nothing grounding them at all. There you go. Here, this is a good one. He does tortured well. Yes, I agree. Yeah. Gabriel Byrne does tortured well.
Well, he has he has decades of Irish strife to play off of.
Hereditary, the sweatpants, the movie. Yes, absolutely.
One of my favorite things about this film definitely is I love all
Sweatpants.
the nuggets.
Would have been what I thought of. Sorry, Renee, go ahead.
Listen to me. He played Lord Byron in Gothic. Correct, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, like I love all the folklore and all of the nuggets, and then all of these little aesthetic things in the background, like that Conan's already mentioned. There's so much of that, and I think even in I think if you've watched this film once, you need to watch it a second time to catch up with all of the things. Like even like there's so many bits that like you sort of know, but then as it goes along, if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't even pick it up. Like at the beginning, the grandma scene when the person touches the lips, she's actually anointing the lips, and you'll see she drops a little bit of herb on there, right? And then when there's the seance,
There's just
same
some straight up
thing.
weird people at that funeral.
She takes a drink and the little bit of tea, like the little bit of the stuff falls out, and then again later it's on Peter's head. Like, there's all these things that if you in the beginning you don't know what that is or whether it even is something, but it does reappear throughout the film. And like, I love at the end when you've got, the very, very end when they're in the treehouse and you've got the statue and then it's got Charlie's head, and the way that the actual arm is up doing the exact same position as Peter in the classroom as well. Like there's all these parallels like that are all sort of together as you go along. And even like that haunting, I love the kind of haunting frame that you kind of see all the time, especially with Peter in the background. The treehouse is always on with those giant heaters, and you see that square of the window that he sees outside of his room every time he looks when he's sleeping, and it's actually the heat radiating in the treehouse. And
okay, cool.
Yeah, because he has like the two heaters that are in there are blaring nonstop, and they're blaring throughout the whole film. So after Charlie's passed away, they're still leaving them on because obviously Annie's going up and sleeping in there and stuff. But when she's not there, they're just leaving it on. And I'm like, that's also a hazard, guys. A wooden treehouse, and then obviously, the naked people, cult members everywhere, and then you've got Annie appearing in, many scenes in the roof and walls and whatnot.
Earlier on too, there's like it shows the same pole that Charlie gets decapitated on, and you see like the symbol, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another one which I did not catch that the first time at all. Obviously,
there's like all those different symbols all throughout. And they very some of them are very quick, and you don't even catch on. It's like, oh, there's a symbol on the floor, there's this, that, and the other. There's also the reoccurring thing with the ants. Ants are constantly appearing on pivotal moments.
Did David Lynch show up to wrangle the ants?
one of the things,
could have just put his head like a little David Lynch like head somewhere. But
one of the things that I didn't catch until like I think the second time or the third time when Peter falls out of the treehouse, he dies, like his neck breaks. He's resurrected as Payman. I like that happened so fast in the first time I watched it. Like, and that treehouse becomes really important because of that. Like, that's the place that he's like resurrected pretty much. But like, it took me a couple times watching
his head off. He fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like, because someone said to me, they're like, "How come he?" And I'm like, "Dude, he didn't chop his head off. You got to chop your head off, or else they get in." Yep. You know what I'm saying? The only way to release payment is to chop your head off. Because when like Annie, that scene with Annie, that I think that was the scene that like was the most hard to watch for me. Like just staring there watching her going with one of those slow like wire saws, just
and well, because it's the sound, like the
you hear all the noise, and he's just like, I've got like Alex, like the actual actor who plays Peter, is phenomenal at like portraying this character. Like which
was entirely method, by the way he did it.
And he came out and said that he had long lasting psychological effects and insomnia and all sorts of stuff after he did this film. Because
he also I found this clip. He talks about how he actually slammed his head on the desk and they were like, we can't film it. Like, we can't have you just slam your head on the desk. Like, we need to figure out a different way to do it. And he was like, nope, bam, and smashed his head on the desk.
Yeah.
So like the damage you see on his face when it's like the actual damage from him actually slamming it.
Method acting, man. What are you gonna do?
But I think it works in this case though, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also the thing about this whole interview is that the guy that's interviewing him and Millie Shapiro, who plays Charlie, seems to be very surprised that she's not like mentally challenged. So like every time she says anything like vaguely intelligent, he's like he's like, whoa, look at this girl's precocious.
Look at you.
Awkward.
I was jumping in and out too much, then I would not be able to get back to the sort of place that I got to. And so I sort of just made sure to stay in this little, rough spot for a long time. But she was my light, my guiding light.
Which is
my
completely
knight in shining
different
armor.
than her character in the movie.
Exactly.
Off screen, you were a guiding light. On screen, you're kind of creepy.
Yeah, just a bit, maybe. Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Did they describe the character to you as someone that was going to be a bit creepy? Which is so interesting because she's kind of an innocent too.
Yeah, I think the thing that really makes her creepy is her moral compass is slightly skewed. So what her version of right and wrong isn't like everyone else's, and so that can make people feel uncomfortable, which is what really makes things creepy, is because you feel like that's not right and that's not natural. And to Charlie, she isn't creepy at all. This is just completely normal for her. And it was very interesting as an actor to really take a look at that.
Wonder why her moral compass was so far or off kilter a little bit.
Yeah. It's I don't want to say too much because then it'll spoil
Yes,
stuff.
that's true. But I think all of us, the interesting part of the interesting part of the movie is all of us have our own moral compass. It sort of asks that question of what is right and what's wrong. I mean, this is such a complicated situation. Are we all just doomed and right and wrong's irrelevant, or are there right things to do in these situations? And I think you want to find someone to blame throughout this movie, but it's hard to. Each new scene kind of twists your perspective, and I think that's Ari Aster's goal. He's
everybody at one point
mission.
is to blame for something.
Absolutely.
In the
100%.
movie. Except maybe for Charlie.
Yeah.
She's really maybe the one person who should not receive any blame at any point.
Or the most person. Depends.
Depending on how you think
about it.
Right. I guess you could kind of say that now that you say that. I guess you could say that. Yeah.
I don't agree, but you did say it, so.
Well, I get where it's coming from and the scene that you're referencing. What was the hardest scene for you to shoot?
I found the whole process to be a little hard, honestly. I felt like every day everything was a little bit challenging. I mean, like there's like scenes where I'm just standing. Well, first of all, the movie was 3 hours originally. It was right. Jesus Christ. There are these loud sounds coming in. This is nuts. Sorry. I mean, like there were scenes. The movie was like 3 hours, so there were scenes that were cut out that were.
Was the original script about 3 hours as well?
Yeah, it was about 3 hours. It was written very. Yeah, there was just a lot of family drama stuff, and there were these big long scenes that ended up not making it for good reason. I mean, I didn't know Ari was gonna like hold on my face for like minutes at a time. Like he just holds on close-ups, and I didn't know that. And I think when you see that, you're like, oh, we don't need that other scene, because it kind of, you say that just with, those close-ups, those long shots. But I mean, there were shots where like I'm just standing outside of a room watching Tony break down crying. That was, emotionally traumatic. And then there's, the classroom scene, which is emotionally traumatic in its own way. I just found every new day was like a new thing I've never done before and probably will never do again. And I found it all to be kind of challenging.
How did you do the scene? And this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer where you smash your face on the desk.
Well, I just smashed my face on a desk. I mean, I said to Ari, I said, and Ari can test this. I said, like, hey, give me a real desk. Let's do it. And he was like, I appreciate the commitment. You can probably sue me if I do that. Like that's not legal. So he was like, we'll get you foam one. So then my impression was, okay, it'll be a nice soft foam one and it'll be easy. And then I came in and it was somewhere in between. I mean, it was like foam on the top, but it was hard on the bottom. And there was no other way except to put like blood on my nose and just slam my face on the desk and freak out. So I think when you do that, how many times
did you do it?
I did all day of stuff, like all the contortions and I dislocated my jaw boxing a few years ago. So I dislocated my jaw for that scene. And I can do it. It hurts so much, but I like dislocated it. And then like, I just did all this.
Put it back in?
Yeah. So I like dislocated it during that scene when I'm like, doing all that stuff. So all that, there's like barely any special effects I think in there because we like glued my eye back. and then just glued my lip up.
Glued your eyelid up or
Yeah.
your eye back? Oh, do you mean like
I
just
mean,
your
sorry,
eyelid?
my eyelid. Yeah.
Okay,
I
I was
glued
like,
my. No, you can't. I think you can glue an eyeball, but no, we glued my eyelid back. We glued my upper lip, and then I like dislocated my jaw, and then just went for it. And so, I mean, I spent all day doing it, but then we did 2 or 3 takes of that one slam thing, and I just think that reaction is what anybody would have when you just have like trauma to your face.
Well, one of the
Wow.
I would imagine so. Yes.
Yeah.
I love his dedication. Like I dislocated my jaw for it.
Yeah. And then I dislocated my jaw. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Like, all right.
That's awesome.
He's
I was gonna say,
he's like, well, I dislocated my jaw boxing, so how hard is it to just pop it back?
he goes,
out
oh,
and-
it hurts though, but it's like, oh. Man.
Talented young man though. He was in Pig, which we covered last year with Ross.
So good.
And one of the cast of thousands in Oppenheimer, of course, as well. And probably one of the best parts about that.
I was trying to remember what we had watched for this show that he was also in.
Yeah.
I think his like vibe is so different in Pig that it didn't.
Oh, it's so different. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little different.
Yeah, he was a pig, by
like
the way, for those who didn't see the episode.
He was
He's pig. He's King Pigman. He's
But I
been,
think,
he's been inhabited by a. By,
no wonder he's like stoned
by
all the
Nicolas
time.
Cage's pig.
I'd
Yeah.
be stoned all the time too.
Yeah.
He's
Just
like,
trying to freaking deal with the pain. Yeah.
I'm like, he's a big bong head. Like, where's the bong hat?
Was he from Nickelodeon or something? Like, what's his whole deal? Like, I don't. He's only come to my attention recently, but it seems like he's in like a lot of stuff now.
I've seen him in a lot of like he was in like my friend Dharma. Like he's been in a lot of low.
First thing I saw him in was those more recent Jumanji movies, which I are
yes, he was in those films.
I think those are amusing. Like,
I think I saw him in like he was in Old.
Yeah, he was one of the better parts of Old, which is
Yeah.
just, that guy just is miss after miss for me. But
yeah, and then
Yeah, he was in Nickelodeon's The Naked Brothers Band. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know what
right.
that is, but it sounds like it's not for me.
No, there's the things, but yeah, then he moved on and started just doing a lot of indie, like lo-fi stuff, which was good.
It is kind of messed up that is Millie Shapiro, who played Charlie, is she like just forever typecast, like just gotta find something
Probably.
else
Well,
to do?
no, well, her and her sister are her sister's a stunt woman, and they do a performance show together. That's what her life is normally.
Oh,
She's
wow.
not an actress by trade. So
she was excited though. Apparently, that was her first stunt in the film, and she's just like, because in the bonus features they have this interview with her, and she's like, so they attached me to this rig, and I had this wire holding me up, and then they were going like 35 miles an hour, and I love roller coasters. So it's just like being on a roller coaster.
Wow.
So she's a Broadway actress, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the two big ones that she did Matilda the musical as Matilda, and then she did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and she was Sally. So like those are like two pretty big Broadway roles. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not. This is the only thing I've
Yeah,
seen.
no,
her
I don't
in,
know.
so.
I just saw her talking about how she was usually in Broadway. This is her first
Yeah.
movie, her first and only movie apparently.
Wait, I think she has a Tony.
Wow.
Yeah, I
well,
mean,
her mom. That's a Tony.
That's a Tony.
That's right, folks.
It wouldn't. Yeah, let me see. Awards. Yeah, so she won a Tony honor. I don't know if it's the same as a Tony. Oh, she was also nominated for a Grammy for Matilda.
Good on her.
Yeah.
Can we just real quick point out like and this is sorry for the podcast listeners, like this kind of stuff too, like like Grandma in the Shadows as like
Well, that's the first time you really get to feel like something's really off, right? Like because rewatching it this time, because I've watched it 3 times, and the other, like the second time I watched it was this year before we talked about Beau is Afraid, and like I noticed it every time, like the grandma appearing in that room
in the corner, like, and if you're not looking, you don't see it. And can I tell you that this is, I'm certain, like the difference between say watching something on your phone and watching something on a big screen is like little things like this, because there's also the same thing when Annie's possessed too, that I didn't catch this the first time, that she's like up in the corner,
up the top,
and it's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then you were seeing Charlie earlier as well, but she's more like, what do you call it? You can tell, like, that's not hidden.
Yeah. That's more over, but these are just like, if you're
The
looking
little
for it,
human
or like have a
ones.
wandering eye, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
like,
even in the scene with when poor Steve, after he's cooked like a barbecue, like you see that bit where Annie's like, woo, flying across the room in the background and in the real dark. And if you're not looking, like, you sort of like, what? And even in the scene when she flies across in the scene that you just showed as well, she flies out after that bit in the corner. But like, you see like all these little nuggets everywhere,
which just adds to the freakiness of like, what the hell's going on here?
Well,
Like,
even
what
also the bit when Steve walks in the house and he's like, oh, that smell, and it's like, that's dead grandma.
Yeah. I'm sure that you guys have had like older family members pass away. Have you ever had one that you lived with, or that you kind of spent like months of the time at like a house that they lived in?
I like didn't live with, but I visited like my like, what do you call them, like step grandparents, I guess you could call them. Like her mother, who was like nearly 100 and something, and she used to wear like one of those white, those white long sleeve 90s, the creepy ones that are always in horrors. And yeah, she's blind as well. She'd gone blind by that time, and she was like creepy as fuck, like because she could barely speak much anymore, but she would always grab you, like in a really
great. What a great combination.
Really awkward way, and like you'd be like, eh, and like she'd be and like grabby, and
so
it was, and being fed and all of that jazz.
Wait, was she in like a home or something like that?
No,
like,
she lived. The family members like shared her around, like for like 6 months or so at a time. So she'd stay in a room. They'd have like a bedroom for her, and she'd move between the different brothers and sisters, like to give everyone a break. But yeah, often I'd go there, and she'd be there for her time visit, and it'd be like, it was just super awkward. I remember having to share a room with her once, and like they had all those old school, like, those rickety beds that are like almost have a bump like this, and you lay on them and it goes and like, and then they've got sheets and stuff that are like, you can't breathe, and like it's just, and they tuck you in so tight. And I remember sharing a room with her, and it was a bit creep stuff. She was lovely, but it was creepy as fuck.
I mean, that sounds really creepy. So my
one of my I'll go real quick. One of my grandpas died suddenly, and I actually found his body, which was pretty traumatizing. I was 8 at the time. And that wasn't great. The other grandpa had a stroke and was at diminished capacity physically and mentally for a long time, and basically was posted up in like the living room in one of those weird hospital beds that Renee's talking about. And even though was not easy for him to speak, he insisted on trying to speak all the time, which got to be very annoying very quickly.
It's a common symptom.
Yeah, where it's like, you should. Nobody understands what you're fucking saying.
Yeah, and they just keep trying.
And just like, do you want this? You want to change the program? What are you looking for? Like, what
it must be painful though, because I imagine your cognition primarily is fine inside your body.
I mean, depending on how severe the stroke is, like there's some people that have a stroke where they lose the ability to talk almost entirely, but then their brain is just, that's got to be fucking a living nightmare.
Well, that's like, ALS. My aunt had that, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is like you're just as sharp as ever. Your body just basically stops working.
Yeah,
which is like maybe my worst nightmare, by the way.
Yeah. And that's actually what happened to.
Luckily, it's in my family, right? Anyway.
See, my worst nightmare is going blind, because I couldn't like watch movies or like do anything.
I'd hate to go blind. I'd go deaf over blind any day. But I just
I am like a little bit deaf, but I'm definitely like going blind would be my nightmare. But so I had one grandpa that was like that had like Alzheimer's kind of, and was in that kind of thing. But my other grandpa was going to move into our house, which is actually why this, like the basement that I stream out of, is actually pretty cool. Like we have a bathroom installed in it.
Yeah, it was like set up for that. So okay.
Yeah. So
Americans in their basements and
his
attics. You guys made horror for that reason.
Right, exactly.
It's like,
Well,
let's go in the attic or the basement that has no lights, that's gross and danky, and let's take a tiny little torch because nothing's gonna happen.
And coming from California, there's no basements because earthquakes.
Mm.
So that's something that, I'm literally in a basement right now. I'm in a formless void with my logo behind me.
The scene in this movie where it does that nice shot, because the house in this film is so beautiful.
Oh, it's great.
And I like turned to my housemate and I went, imagine having a house like that and not having to worry about a bushfire. Did not have a house like that in the middle of the forest.
Well, it's in Utah in this too, so it's like it looks way more luscious than I assumed Utah would look like, to be honest.
Southern Utah. So people only think of like Salt Lake, right? They think of like area like Salt Lake City and like I can't remember the city above it, but like there's a whole mid to southern Utah is actually gorgeous. It's really beautiful. There's like 5 national parks that are down there, and each one of them is incredible. Like it feels like a different state entirely. If all you ever know, which for years all I knew was literally driving through or playing Salt Lake City and driving on the next show. And like I was like, oh, Utah blows, and I was like,
what's it like doing a show full of Mormons?
I mean, not everybody in Salt Lake City is Mormon, but all the alcohol is that lower percentage, like whatever they like dial the alcohol level down,
level down,
which is hilarious, especially if you play like Reno the night before. Where's Nevada? It's like we don't care. Booze for everybody.
One of the reasons I
slot machines on every corner.
I think of Utah is so like dry. Also, is that like I've been to Arizona. Like I ran around Arizona for like a couple weeks. When I was like 15 or 16. But like I've never been to Utah, so I picture Arizona.
Which is funny because so if you go to northern Arizona, it starts getting kind of like lush and more mountainous, and then that is what becomes the southern part of Utah, which you have like Zion and Canyonlands and Arches and stuff like that. Anyway,
Utah,
gorgeous area. It's amazing. Moab's actually kind of like an artist friendly location too. It's also expensive as hell, but like there's a lot of like artists and people that live there. Obviously, completely outnumbered by all of the. The religious conservatives that are over there. Anyway,
so what I was saying with the thing with my grandpa that so he was gonna move into here. He ended up passing away because he had cancer for like 15 years. Like and they kept saying like you have 6 months to live, but he lived for like another 15 years. He was like he had a will.
He was a hangers on.
He was like an enigma. Like he was really like hard to understand for that.
An enigma wrapped in cancer.
But the other thing, and he was like an artist, and his house that he had bought in Maine was like in the middle of nowhere. Like it's like on an island, and was built in the 1800s, and had been like the home of like there's kind of a legendary ghost thing where this woman's husband died. I think he bought it for this reason. He thought it was cool, but like this woman's husband died, and she would like watch the sea to like on the top floor. She would watch the sea. Everybody would say to like because she died before her husband came home. And we had all these ghostly experiences where like lights would turn on and off when he died, and like the car lights. And I think it was like faulty, like there was a lot of mice and it was like faulty electricity, but like in your head, right? Like somebody passes away and then all of a sudden like the lights start going on and off, his car light would go on and off, like all of this stuff. It felt like kind of something like this where it was like extremely haunting. And like sometimes like my mom would swear she still saw him walking around like the house in Maine, like all of these different kind of like almost occultist things on top of him having this like huge library that was like how to hex somebody, like Aleister Crowley's books, like all this stuff about like Eastern religion and philosophy. And like, so it feels very apt to this movie in some ways. Like, cause I remember being a kid and like swearing I saw his like face in like a, like, I don't know, like in a pattern on a tile that was like really old or something, like all of those kinds of things where it's like all of a sudden like you see something like that and then you look back and it doesn't look like that anymore. But he was this artist that made like this debris art, and he would put like all these faces on like he would like make faces out of old buoys and like lobster traps, and like he'd do these like crazy art contraptions.
Any Alter Sedagon in there at all?
But all of his art was like really abstract and like almost like Picasso-esque. Like it would be like these faces made out of all this stuff, and then at some point, like as a kid, right after you lose your grandparent, like it's almost like you start seeing faces places too. And it's like this movie, kind of all of that with her miniatures and seeing like a grandparent or something, or like like a family member that kind of feels like they're still walking around, and like the hauntingness and the atmosphere of this whole movie kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and like if there's people who are into that kind of stuff, the folky and all that kind of creepy stuff. The god Paimon that is talked about in this film is based on like a really controversial grimoire called the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon of King, which is really weird and interesting to read.
Which I quoted in the.
You put it in the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
This is where I wish I had a Reading Rainbow drop. Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. It is very controversial grimoire too. Like it is, but all of that, like, there's all that weird, creepy, like you think of the, just like all the symbolisms and the words and stuff. I love how Annie is also so meticulous that when she's doing the little miniature dioramas, that she's even writing the words on the wall.
Right, yeah.
And so as you're watching the film, you're like, why? She's not into all this shit. Where's it coming from? And then you realize, the mother was there for hospice. Yeah. So she's obviously been going around the house doing shit, writing shit.
Yeah.
All over the place and like, above.
Well, she writes the entire chant out.
So she's got the pandemonium and what's the other one? Lichen.
Reading grimoire. You didn't have that show, did you, Renee? But this is
which show?
The LeVar Burton Reading Rainbow show.
No.
Huge year. Like
especially when me and Conan were kids.
The key thing was that they would they'd have a kid like read a book and then like recommend it and then it'd be like dun and they would do like that would be the end of the segment. So obviously the grimoire would be like and they would go to the great show, very wholesome.
Yes,
very wholesome.
Let's look it up. Yeah, but
they replaced Drew Barrymore with LeVar Burton as the
I think I might have seen something about this.
The National Book Reviewers whatever, because like Drew Barrymore didn't support unions.
Oh,
so
sure,
like,
yeah.
So they just replaced her with LeVar Burton as like the National Association of Libraries dinner or whatever.
Which is weird because depending on how old you are, you either
this fucking library, dude. Like
you either know him from Star Trek as Geordi, you either know him from Reading Rainbow, or you know him from Roots, which is like one of his first roles, which is crazy. But anyway, continue, Renee. Sorry, dude.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, so you've got like those bits, like even in the, one of the rooms you see on the wallpaper the symbol.
Yes.
And then above Charlie's room, when she's comforting her and asking her if she's sad after the funeral, she's got Satoni written there, which means necromancy. And then later on you see like the words pandemonium and liftoch, which means like open, and pandemonium is chaos, and like they're there later as everything starts to turn to shit. And then you start to kind of realize that the cult members are actually actively, creating these things going on, like
like the impromptu seance was not so impromptu,
things
like that.
It was an invocation. It wasn't actually a seance. It's like
she gives her the thing,
saying it, because and then when she's doing the seance and stuff later, she's doing a regular seance.
And it seems like Charlie's attached somehow to the spirit Paimon, because when her head is taken off, they both leave the
so she's bound. Body. She's been bound to Paimon from birth. If you dig into the nuggies, she's been there from birth, and so essentially Charlie's never been Charlie ever. She was. That's the purpose of the clicking.
Is again, that's the only way she can communicate.
She's so back and
for everybody that thinks talking about all these grandparents that lost their faculties, it all went back around, jerks. That's right.
Yeah,
it was relevant.
But and then you see, you've got the click thing happening, and then even I love that scene when Peter goes. And you're just like, whoa!
Yeah, it's like,
it's so good. And you're like, but like the
when they describe who Paimon is, by the way, it says he can teach all arts and scientists and other secret things. He can discover unto thee what the earth is, what holdeth up the waters, and what mind is, and where it is, and any other thing thou mayest desire to know. So essentially, you'd be invoking him, and you have to give him some kind of offering, like according to the Goetia, and he comes down and pretty much gives you information. Which just seems like you're calling somebody, like he's kind of compared in like this Den of Geek thing that I was reading to like almost like a genie. Like you're kind of calling this guy down to like you're like, tell me all the secret things. It's like
it's weird. What
and
is
the
it
secret
called?
friends.
They always want to know the secret things. They're like, I want to know the secret things. Like, tell me the powers. And it's like, whatever, dude. Just roll around in the nude with your thing again.
There's so many people so comfortable with being naked.
Conan
Yes,
came in
and yeah, really comfortable with being naked. Just
So
like,
many people so comfortable with being naked. It's just like, whatever, we're naked. We like it.
We were saying it last night. Like, why are cults naked? Like, why do you have to be naked all the time?
I feel like that's kind of like just people to be like totally willing to enter a cult, but like I gotta be naked. Ooh.
I was okay with sacrificing babies, but I'm not taking my pants off.
I'm probably out.
You could be like Tobias.
I don't want to watch everyone else being naked and jangling around and shit.
Jangling around.
You could be like Tobias from Arrested Development.
Get a never nude.
You're like a never nude. You're like, look, I gotta wear the jeans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also, you're doing practical things, right? As well. Like I remember, very quick sidetrack. I remember watching a really old, 60s or 70s documentary about a nudist camp. And I remember, it's just wrong town. Like, you're watching people, fixing stuff and
cooking,
doing, activities and shit. I'm like, put all your shit back in.
Yeah. My grandparents spent their honeymoon at a nudist colony and then bought land a few miles from where that nudist colony is. So every time growing up visiting my grandparents, like, oh, that's the nudist colony where your grandparents honeymooned.
Mm. I was reading about the Sullivanian psychoanalysis cult, which was a cult in the 50s to the 70s, where it was a bunch of therapists that decided they were doing these radical experiments on everybody in this cult, where they're like, oh, just sleep with whoever you want, drink as much as you want.
Yeah, sleep with whoever you want. That's the key.
Yeah, especially the guy eventually got brought down. One of the reasons is because everybody was like, yeah, he was making women suck his dick during the therapy sessions. That was part of the therapy. But
shocking.
Of course, it was part of the therapy.
Yeah.
But that it was this building or whatever that they had all their their therapeutic people. The guy wasn't even a licensed therapist. They found out later. But,
would it make it better if he was?
Well, I mean,
they were the west. They were in the Upper West Side of New York City, and they had this huge building, and everybody was they could point to someone and be sleep with him, and then they'd have to do it. So.
Cults,
it's
man.
my idea of a fun time. I'd be like, fuck off. And of course, they're all weedy, gross dudes, old men and shit, and they're just like, this is you know what I want to do? I want to start a cult because I just want to have sex with lots of women, and then if I tell them it's important because we'll get the powers and the knowledge, then they'll do it.
It's coming any day now.
They weren't even saying that though. This cult that I'm talking about, he was just oh, if you want to get fixed, if you want your brain
if you want to get fixed, you need to suck my dick.
At least it rhymes.
Yeah, so we can make a song about it with some clicking at the end.
I'll get right on that. Yeah.
The guy that ran the cult was married and divorced 6 times and had 10 kids by the end of it.
No, you don't say.
I'm not. Yeah, it's surprising. I was going to say,
what a shocker.
One scene I was talking about with a friend, and they didn't get it the first time, and was the scene, at the school when Joan is out across the road yelling.
And what do you guys think about Joan, that character?
Well, she's stepping in for Ellen. You know what I mean? She's an evil bitch.
And Dad's a great actress too. She's an awesome.
She's amazing.
She's an awesome that chick actress.
I watched, and she's so uncomfortable the way she touches everybody.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, even in the car park when she's getting paint supplies, and she's like, Annie, I'm like, get the fuck away from me, woman. No. I would have been like, slimy. To me, I would have
there's a classic sales technique to it too, where it's when someone's talking about a seance, they're like, I didn't believe it myself until I went,
there was all these skeptics. I love it how she goes, there was a neurologist skeptic.
Dear Penthouse, I never believed it could happen until it happened to me.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? What was that book? This was an American thing, but we had it here for a little while, and it was a small book. Oh my god! It was something I forget.
Necronomicon.
No. It came out in every day. Wives and shit would read it. Oh. And it was
men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
No, it came out every month. It was an ongoing thing. I'll have to look it up. But
Reader's Digest?
Yes.
Okay. What do I win? Yeah.
It used to come out all the time, and we got it here. And they used to have stories like this kind of shit peppered throughout everyday content, which I used to find really creepy. But
my grandmother would have a stack of them from 1972 in the bathroom, and Because
like
she never
Ray
threw anything
Bradbury
away.
and stuff. Yeah.
No,
Well, it was
no,
like the
it's
most
great.
read. It was like the most read magazine for a long time. Like,
But also, my grandmother never threw
Yeah.
anything away.
That too.
Great.
That's why I remember seeing it. And old people used to have it everywhere. But
It was sort of
yeah,
like
it was
I like to
actually
I like to give the
old
impression that I read a lot, but I don't actually read a lot.
well, I have the book that talks about all the books.
Yeah.
I read your digest condensed version. I'm good.
You got to condense. Yeah, it's like just add water. I can figure out what happens in the rest of it. It's fine. It's good enough. I know what I got the broad strokes. While on the
Sorry.
pot, probably. I don't know.
I feel like I love coming on this podcast because I feel like I'm in a weird little classroom with all my dude mates.
I guess that's kind of true. Yeah.
I'm always like,
It's kind of like I always think like describing what a movie podcast is like is kind of like describing what a book club is. Like we all watch a movie and we talk about it. Look, it's funnier than it seems, but it's like every week we all watch a movie and then we discuss it, and it's like
sometimes we talk about it in depth.
But it's very clever and very funny and sometimes baffling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say that scene where Joan is yelling out at Peter. Yeah, my friend was like, "Oh, didn't sort of get it," and I was like, "Hang on," I was like, "Roll it back," like when you rewatch it, watch it again, and I was like, when Joan's yelling, "Get out!" she's not talking to at first you think she's yelling at the demon to get out. It's the opposite. She's yelling at Peter to get the fuck out.
She's saying, "Peter, get out."
Yeah, she means Peter, get out, so that the demon can have your body, dude.
Oh wait! I want to say the thing about the Salivanian thing I was talking about. Judy Collins was a member of that. Like, was one of the women.
Of course,
in that
she was.
And
all those old actresses
it connects
love
to
this
this.
shit.
It connects to this movie because it's the Judy Collins both side now thing that plays during the credits of this movie.
Yeah. Both sides now.
That's
yeah.
funny. Wow.
Now the thing about that scene, if somebody was screaming at a school in America in
2023,
they would be arrested. Like even when this movie came out,
a tactical dad would shoot her.
Yeah.
Shoot her.
Exactly.
I just want to say tactical dad, by the way, but
Tactical dad. He's
like
the dad that has the guns.
As a parent, I can tell you this right now. They would actually, the school would actually call you and be like, "Yeah, today we've had someone outside the school yelling."
And Dad was wilding out outside the school today.
But I don't even know. Like, we had like a weird.
The fact that no one else is noticing but him. He's just like, what's going on?
Well, that makes you think when you don't know what's going on. Is like, is this for real? Is he just imagining this? Like, what is this like a ghost?
That scene the scene in the classroom is quite disturbing. Like, if you were sitting in the room with him, and let's just say his teacher is fucking dreadful. His teacher is like a piece of piss. He's just like, ooh, like nothing at all. Like
we had like a mentally challenged guy that would come around and yell at kids. Because the middle school in New Paltz is like in the middle of the town, and like kids would be playing soccer or something, and come out and start yelling at them. Like nobody ever called the cops on that guy.
I thought like just coming into the classroom, like, "Hey kids,
he walked around the middle school soccer field, and I didn't go to the middle school in New Paltz, but I witnessed.
What, just loose? He was just right.
Yeah, he worked at the grocery store uptown, so he would just kind of wandering around. As soon as he would walk across the soccer field and start yelling at everybody.
Everyone thought that was fine, or like they were.
Yeah.
You know what we had? This is so I have to bring it up because it's bad, but funny.
Tactical dad believes in Q.
They're coming for you. They're coming for your kid. They're coming for mine. That's why I'm.
Sorry. No, behind my high school there was another high school, and that high school was for people who were mentally challenged of some type.
Oh, somebody thought that was a good idea, huh? All right.
Yeah. And so they built a wire fence.
Of high schools.
They put like a wire fence, right? But the wire fence didn't go all the way because they didn't think the kids would be smart enough to.
Wow.
So they thought the fence would just, they just assumed the fence kept going, but it didn't. And there was one kid who would always come around the fence and he'd try and pick you up in his fucking bus or whatever it was he was pretending to drive, and like he would always come over and they would always be like mental, like they were just like not mental, not the kids, us, but like all the kids would be going nuts and like and the teachers would be like, oh my god, like trying to get the kid back. And then eventually they were like, I think we should schedule lunch times and break times at different periods.
Oh yeah, there's an idea. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, yeah. But like, did you have, I don't know if America has this, but in Australia you had bin duty where like certain days you would have to go, like you and the two friends or whatever would have to go around the school and pick rabbit-proof fence, and you'd have to pick up rubbish,
Good
right?
reference.
And this
yeah. You have to take the waste paper basket out. Sure.
And
Yeah, okay.
one of the other duties was what do you call it? Like, don't want to say the real word here because it's very un-PC, but it was like a duty, let's just say, but it was like veggie duty, so bad. And that's what the kids in high school would call it. And that was when you got sent to that school to look after some children from there.
Oh, wow.
Instead of doing bin duty. And you only got to do that if you were perceived as being a particularly, good kid or whatever. And unfortunately for me, that was me. So I spent a lot of time over there wiping snotty noses and whatnot.
And now you're on this show.
Yep.
It prepared you well.
When I was a teenager, I got sent away upstate to like a really weird, creepy school that felt kind of culty. And there was one building that I was in or whatever, that they're like, oh, these are the kids that are, whatever. And then the other building, they're like, these are the kids that are like much, like they have like severe mental problems or whatever, but like everyone have to share the cafeteria. So they have to like bring them in shifts, and everyone.
Well, thank God we didn't share, because it would have been horrible for them. Like,
one of them like died when I was there.
But you know what? I can't swim.
This kid was like kind of fat, and he's like,
let the kid drive the bus. Just let him drive the bus, would you?
This kid like heart gave out.
Happy dude.
Yeah, he likes it.
He loved. He was a really happy dude.
He likes driving it. Let him drive it.
It is awful, Abby. I'm with you. Yeah, I can't swim. Right? Never been able to swim. I have things with my lungs. Right? So never been able to swim. Just bringing out my trauma here, past trauma. We should be paying for this content, I feel like. Yeah, I was put in the swimming class, which was also started with a V, what I mentioned earlier. So it was the V swimming class. So yeah, I was the only non-mentally challenged person in that class. And they all just used to sit and go crazy. And I used to just sit there like having a fun time with my kickboard, and all my friends were over the other side, doing dives and shit, and they'd be like, and then they'd come see me, and I'd be just like floating around, and I'd be like, that's my class over there, and they'd all be like,
all going crazy,
yeah, and I'd be just like, I'm just doing nothing,
just wilding.
Yes, growing up, and 100%. Definitely. So I've definitely been in those awkward situations, many of them.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever like had any experiences with like cults? Like, there's cults that are around. Like, there's a lot of them. Like, I feel like as especially like in America, I don't know about like other countries, as we kind of lose our meaning as a society, which I think is far gone.
That's gone by design. And it's gone by design, so it can be filled up with other stuff. And so a lot of these organizations
to be filled with like, whether it's consumerism or like fundamentalist religion or whatever. But like, there's plenty of people that get involved in cults for that reason. And I feel like there's a lot of cults, at least in
probably pay better than rock and roll, frankly. I should get into that.
Yeah, Australia has a lot of them.
If you're at the upper echelon,
if
you're at the lower echelon, if you just join a cult, it does not pay. Definitely not.
No. You gotta start it. It's like a pyramid scheme. You gotta be top of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
You need a lot of rubes.
Bernie Madoff.
My dad's girlfriend escaped from a cult, and her husband, that's now in prison, was like at the top of the pyramid. I don't know what cult, but no, but like I feel like these kind of cult things, right? Like there's
it's called like MSNBC.
I felt like it was NXIVM because they said it. Like my dad wouldn't tell me what cult it was. But he was like, oh, it's in upstate New York. And NXIVM, they found them all in upstate New York, but I couldn't find the guy's name. I don't know what the guy's name was. So, I feel like with these cult kind of things, like the sense of community and stuff, like the rules of it, right? Like, because people are trying to find meaning in this way, like the rules of it, whether it's something like being naked or like, kind of forcing people to
be naked. Give me all your money. If you have assets or money, please give them to me and I'll look after them.
But like,
why is being naked such a big part of being in a cult? That is a question I would like to have answered in a serious manner. Like, it's there has to be a real reason why.
I think a lot of it has to do with like the sexual revolution and the idea that like society's rules on nudity and
free love. Come over here. We're doing all that. Some other stuff too, but just come over here and into this locked area.
So I feel like
Conan, you dress like a cult leader already, apparently.
How dare you? How dare you, sir, madam?
You could have a pulpit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I need to do promo photos again at some point. Why not? Why not?
I mean, I feel like part of it is like, we already have kind of oppressive rules and like morals and standards around our society, and so in order to build a society where you have other rules, right? Like, or you're breaking those rules. You kind of need to form some kind of, ecosystem of comments. Well, you have to form some kind of ecosystem of your own, and which is what a cult kind of is, right? Like, And so part of that is like, as the sexual revolution kind of went on, like, people are like, well, we do want to be naked, like, and we can't be naked, at normal places. We got to find a.
I'll still on screen because you can't hide your stolen money if you're naked. That's a good one.
That's the one guy wearing clothes is the cult leader. You never trust that guy.
Exactly, because he's
the one guy that gets to carry around a wallet.
Exactly.
Can't steal nothing if you're naked.
That's true. It's hard to run away too. Looks weird at least.
But a lot of
it's a lot harder to grab someone. I mean, you got to grab an appendage.
You gotta watch where you grab. Yeah.
a lot of
nobody wants to grab the naked guy.
You're like, sorry, I can't.
Back up, Bo was afraid.
Other cult members. I don't know, but like part of the thing is like a lot of the stuff from cults over the last like half century have appeared in psychiatry in various forms. Like a lot of the people that start these cults are psychiatrists or.
I appreciate your diligence in finishing this story, by the way, because like it's.
I'm sorry.
we're going quite off the rails here, so yeah, continue, please. No, I'm being serious. Continue, yeah.
Forrest, keep going.
I was just saying there was a lot of distraction. Go ahead.
No, I'm not telling you a story. I'm just saying like, just to talk about cults in general, like, to bring it back to this movie, right? Like that kind of fundamental thing where it's like bringing people into some kind of spiritual movement or some kind of spiritual communion. And like the nudity and these rules and kind of having
spiritual
some kind of
elevation, mental balancing.
There's also that thing, like like we were talking about earlier, that the film centers on like all these schizophrenic things, but in actual fact, we're teetering on the demonic, and like you see that with even in the interview you showed earlier with Alex and I've forgotten her name. I'm sorry. The Charlie's actress, I've forgotten her name.
Millie Shapiro.
Millie, yeah. So when in that interview they even touched on it, where where the dude who looks like he's probably not watched the film at all, when he says like and then she says, I don't want to say anything because it might.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely watched the film because he's surprised throughout this interview that she's not.
That too. Yeah. But he's probably just watched the trailer, like because a lot of people I know. One of the things that if you look up Hereditary, there's so much about like Hereditary. What does Charlie have? Like blah blah blah, and it is really poignant that in this film, nobody throughout the entire film like references that Charlie has anything whatsoever. Everyone else has psychiatric disorders, but Charlie doesn't have any. It's only everyone just assumes that she's got autism or something going on.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's never actually said. And then, I think that's, it's clearly deliberate because, like with the, all the behaviors that she's doing make complete sense when you go back and think that she's possessed by Payman. All the like cutting the bird's head off and like, all of these things are very symbolic.
And the fact that she can still see the grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that she was super close with the grandmother, and that's the way she's affected when the grandmother dies and she's like, I want her back, and all that kind of stuff. And just that weird, the weird tension, even when Annie's like, when she's like, I want her, like when she's outside and she sees her grandma in the fire, and then she grabs her and is like, how dare you go outside barefoot and no jacket, which is still weird to me, but anyway.
Well, and like going deeper on this, like I haven't even thought about it until we're having this conversation. When she pulls her head out of the window and she's freaking out, like you could think about it as Payman actually trying to escape her body, rather than kind of having that allergy. Payman's actually trying to escape her body, and then her head hits the pole and
Yeah.
flies off, and Payman escapes. Like,
and
you
also you
yeah.
see the flickering of light everywhere, which a lot of people didn't pick up the first time.
Yeah.
There's like that white blue light is always flickering around when Payman's about to sort of, funky, and it's in the room. It's in the room a lot. It's in the classroom scene. You see the light flickering following Peter, like, and that's all throughout as well. Like when it's definitely like a two thing, and you can take it either way. With the thing with the pole, is she having having anaphylactic shock, or is Payman actually trying to get out?
Well, because it's got Payman's symbol on it. Like I said, it's
Exactly,
the earlier. Like, and again, I did not catch that the first go round. I'm not that astute, but yeah, like
No, but that's the thing.
But I definitely remember being like,
What I like about
why
this
are we on
film
this?
is, layers and upon layers upon layers, and all those little nuggets everywhere, that the more you watch it, you actually start to appreciate how good the film is, and how well it was written. Right. Because there's just so much of this little stuff that he's thought about, which is.
And it's told in an order that doesn't give away the story. Like I said, so I noticed that it focused on the telephone pole. Like, I was like, that's weird that he's like hanging on this telephone pole here. I wonder why. And then like later on, obviously, we all know why.
Isn't it? It's still one of the best scenes though. Like,
oh sure,
because you go in with this slow. It's a slow burn at the beginning, and you're like, this is I'm anxious and it's doomy, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then you're like, this slow burn, and then it's just like, poof, there goes my sister's head, and you're like, fuck me. You're like, is this gonna happen? I've always wondered, when you're a kid and you put the dog's head out or your own head, and they're like, if you put your fucking head back in, like, like,
what are you doing?
Parents would be screaming at you to get your head back in, and I'm like, this is
like one of those. This is
why, because your head don't get knocked off.
It's one of those things that like your parents always tell you, like, hey, put your head in. You don't want them to you don't want somebody to take off your head. And it does happen every once in a while. Like, you hear stories in the news where it's like
The Simpsons. That was like one of the best running gags, was that they always talked about the kid who lost his arm in the bus, and they kind of hinted that it's the guy who runs the Army Navy shop with the missing arm.
Yeah, he's the kid. And all those things. But like the head out the door, out the door was always brought up when I was a kid, because you'd be cruising around in the in the outback when I was in the country when I was growing up, and so you'd always have your head out and shit, looking at animals, or it was super hot, whatever it might be. It's like when you put your tongue out, and it'd be like, don't put your tongue out, because
you can stick to it.
Shit on it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, here it's don't stick your tongue out, like put it on the pole. People would say your tongue stuck to the pole.
Or that's no.
Yeah, we've all seen Christmas Story.
They'd be like, don't stick your tongue out, like thingies will shit on it. So they'd be like, don't, if you when kids always I hate it how people do selfies with their tongue out.
Yeah.
Like, and it'd be like if you have your tongue out, it'll the flies will shit on it.
I'm kind of.
So your parents would be like, telling
flies.
I always look at
shit on it.
When people see their tongue out like that in selfies, I always sometimes you notice someone hasn't brushed their teeth, they'll have the white on their tongue. And it's put that tongue back in your mouth. No, but I'm kind of fascinated by the intersection between psychoanalytic, that that as a science, cults, and the occult, because there is a lot of crossover. Of course, the easiest one is they all kind of hope to possess people by a certain thing, right? There's a lot of crossover between cults and religions, and the government too, experiments, because they all want to kind of quote unquote brainwash or control people through mental techniques, and that kind of plays into the same thing as exorcisms, where they're trying to exorcise a spirit, or dissociative disorders, or all these different things where there's the thought that there's some way that you can control people by kind of forcing them into that situation. I feel like this movie touches on the what do you call it, the Venn diagram between cults, psychoanalytics, and the occult, perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's even there's that. I find you see Annie's frustration when she's trying to explain this stuff to Steve, and he's like, I can't do this with you anymore.
Again,
she's like, no, it's real.
But you have to understand, right, that that's probably not the first time they've had a conversation like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and that's what's
definitely
so
as it goes along, you start to see, right?
and that's what's so deeply tragic is that like they're both right in that situation. She wants to be heard, and like he's like, oh, this again, Jesus,
Yeah,
you know,
this
like
again, yeah.
And that is another like layer of the bloomin' onion of tragedy. that is this film.
The bloomin' onion. There's no such thing as a bloomin' onion in Australia. I know you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There is no bloomin' onion. We do not eat bloomin' onions. We
Yeah.
don't even know what it is. You guys made it up.
Nobody drinks Foster's either. You know.
And you keep telling us that we eat it. We don't. We've
The
never eaten
the company
it.
that I believe that owns Outback Steakhouse is Bloomin' Incorporated. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like that's the company that fucking.
There was
it's located in like it's like some Midwest city. Like it's located in the United States. They've never. There's no connection.
Salt
to
Lake City,
Australia
probably.
whatsoever.
Yeah, no, and you've got franchises all over it, and I've had so many, especially New Yorkers, but a lot of Americans say to me like, "Oh, Outback," and I'm like, "We don't fucking have it in Australia. It doesn't exist." And most of the shit
We
on
just
the
call
menu
them
we don't know.
steakhouse. Thank you.
Yeah, like,
Bloomin'
also,
brand
yeah.
is located in Tampa, Florida. Of course it is.
It's just an appetizer at one of these mid-grade like
completely made up thing that
diners that have like margarita specials and
Yeah.
whatnot that I wouldn't be caught dead at even on tour.
yeah,
cheap
it's like a
appetizer.
really
Okay, fine,
cheesy
whatever.
family restaurant-y. Yeah.
Real quick before we do one-liners, I've managed to find a GIF that is the night today of the light, and then when it's dark, you can see the cultists
see all the cult
that
members,
are on
yeah.
there. And again, one of the freakiest scenes that I did not notice in any way, shape, or form the first time that I saw this was like, oh, okay, whoa, wild. Lots of little things like that, like Renee is saying.
It is pretty funny to me that like movies, like horror movies, when they talk about cults, right? Like it's always something like, you know, bringing back the devil, or like having somebody be possessed, or like all these different things. And like real cults is just like, oh no, we're just trying to bilk you for money, and like
We just want you to be naked, give us money, and give us a bloomin' onion. That's all the three things that we want.
Yeah, and some blowjobs.
Yeah, it's the cult of
bloomin' onions, blowjobs,
the cult of the
nudity.
bloomin' onion. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Call it a day.
Yes, blowjobs, blooming onions, and bills. The 3 Bs.
Exactly.
Yeah, the 3 Bs.
Three
of the
Bs.
cult.
We're the 3B organization. Oh, what do the B's stand for? Well, Letterboxd is, of course, a social media site for film lovers to talk out with and to each other about the films that they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, the films that they just kind of slowly stared at the wall and like, what the hell did I just watch? Of course, it's nice as Siskel's and Eberts of the world to get to have their say. Everybody gets to chime in. It's a bottom-up, open-source democracy, and everybody gets to opine about whatever it is they just watched. This is best expressed succinctly for the purposes of this bit, where you don't explain the entire plot like some movie trailers do now. We're like, why are you showing me the whole movie? I don't need to see that. You just keep it tight, keep it succinct. Ideally, keep it funny. The purpose of this bit. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Hereditary. Let's roll them. Never sticking my head out of a car again.
And I love doing that so much when you're in the breeze and it's like,
yeah,
like
I love putting my arm out and waving.
Sure, yeah, the doing the wave, sure.
Yeah, no, just like doing the woo, catch that breeze when it's hot.
Yeah, absolutely. But
sorry,
Andy's doing it over there. The dad just trying to get by while his whole family's getting possessed.
Yeah, we touched on that.
We did touch about that one, yeah. It's true, man. He's just trying to have a nice day. They just
have a nice hard liquor at the end of the day at work. You know.
Yeah.
Well, he's Irish. He needs the spirit to fortify himself.
All right. This is also what happens to me after no head.
True.
Wow.
Bringing it back to the BJ.
Check out that poster.
Cooper, we need to talk to you about this new organization. We call it the 3Bs. I think you really enjoy it.
I hope you like.
We're going to put a link in the after for how membership works.
Exactly. It's got to be a Patreon to find out. As someone with a nut allergy, I can confirm that it would be preferable to be decapitated by a pole in a moving vehicle rather than suffering through an allergic reaction.
I mean, sometimes, you don't get a BJ because you have a nut allergy. You don't get any head.
Why am I so juvenile today?
Today.
I think it was me that just said that.
Don't answer that, guys.
You've been possessed by the spirit of that kid that was in the next school over in the bar.
We got any nut allergy folks in the audience, huh? Anyone? No? Nothing, huh? All right. I love when the whole theater says, "Oh shit," at the same time.
Yeah, see, that happened during Midsommar, like when they had the old people like go off the cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they had to come up with a hammer and kill the one old fucking old guy. Like everybody in the theater was just like, fuck, like at the same time.
Yeah.
It also happened. It also happened when Ken jumped on that car in the Barbie movie and went what, like he said something about it. He was like, "What about me?" And that one kid was like, "Oh shit, goddamn."
Anyway, yes. At some point, horror movies all decided there's nothing scarier than a naked guy.
I mean, it's true though.
Can you imagine Freddy Krueger just showing up naked?
Well,
yeah, everyone's bitching about the leather pants.
It's a
guy that kind of looks like
Donald Duckett.
It's
gotta
like
be a middle-aged
man.
naked guy.
It's like a middle-aged man with a not that big a dick that looks like
and a pop belly.
Like he's not, you know what I mean? Like because like it's certain kinds of naked men. It's like you go to the gym locker room and it's that kind of naked man. It's like
yeah. It's like the dude who works at the bank.
Oh wow, Kristina just came onto the stream. The role of Kristina was played by this action figure.
The Wolfman with the guitar, with the Les Paul. See?
Word.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
See, this is just like Hereditary. You got to look in the corners for the weird stuff.
The Alex Wolfman.
The Alex Wolfman. That's good. That's good.
There I am.
Speaking of which, Alex Wolfman, screaming, crying, covered in blood, spit hanging out of his mouth. Me, despite this, I want you to rearrange my guts.
I wasn't sure how you could turn this movie into a horny post, but
they did it.
There it is.
Letterbox finds a way.
10 out of 10.
Might not agree with this King Payment guy's methods, but you have to admit he's got some pretty good ideas.
Well, he knows everything. Like he has all the knowledge.
It's all about art, man.
Look, one family got killed. Like whatever. Like you get to find out all the knowledge.
You get the world of knowledge, mate.
Exactly.
King Payment's more useful than Google, dude.
You do have to hand it to him.
That's how they get the one search engine even better than fucking Google.
You look that up on King Payment.
Yeah.
It's like Ask Jeeves, but it's a Demon Prince.
Ask Payment.
They've got him.
Which, by the way, if anybody actually does do that startup, remember to pay us.
Yeah, give us some stock options as a.
They've got him stuck in the computer like as a spirit. Which is
like free at last. Put him in the computer, quick. What? No.
They start hitting his head against the computer like he hit his head against his desk.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like doing that every day. If anyone ever clicks their tongue around me again, I'm calling the police.
That's what would happen if you ask Payment. You go ask Payment.
Ask
you type
Payment.
in
You're kidding. And when you click it, it goes. We're throwing out $1 million ideas here. This is amazing.
The first time I watched this movie, and apparently she blocked this out of her mind because she was traumatized by it. But my mom watched this movie with me 2 weeks after we had gone to the theater to see Midsommar, and I hid in the kitchen and I went in the middle of the night. And then
you're one of them. You're like my dad. My dad does that shit.
Whenever
you watch a movie, it's like he would,
I'd kick both of y'all right out of the house. Forrest, your dad, all of them. Get out.
I'll be like,
go join the double B org.
Yeah, double B.
Or triple B, whatever it is.
All right, I'm just going to take my blooming onion and go home.
Yeah, that's some
and
low.
my fucking horseradish dip. Who the fuck eats horseradish dip? Not us. I'm sorry.
Those are the letterbox one-liners for... No, you don't need to be sorry for that. That's okay. Those are the letterbox one-liners for Hereditary. Please follow the show. Hail Payman over there at Movie Night Extra for a little... Or just if you're nasty. He left his sister's head on the road, and he's logging all the stuff for the show on Letterboxd. We are going to convert to a show account maybe this weekend, I guess, if I get around to it. But yeah, follow him on there for all
this weekend.
Maybe
You've got another.
I don't even. Look.
You got another protonic reversal.
I wasn't thinking about this sentence when I started it, and I ended it, and it was like, oh, that's a thing I just put myself up for, I guess. So, anyway,
I released you like your King Payment.
I appreciate that. Yeah, very, very bountiful. I of course am not King Payment. I am Conan Neutron, Crafts by Neutron. I am on Letterboxd as well, logging all the stuff. Highbrow, midbrow, populist fare. I have one more to go in the Criterion Challenge, so am I going to do that this weekend? Not at the rate I'm doing stuff, but but maybe I will. Who knows? You never know. Mario Cesario down there. How long have you had that on there? Because that feels like hours ago that we did that bit.
Yeah.
Were you just waiting? Was that like
I put it on there at that point, and you never noticed.
Comedic landmine for me?
I did, Andrew.
The Sicario brothers.
He hopes that an art gallery calls him like that. He also hopes that you'll look at all of his great reviews on Letterboxd, watching all the weirdest stuff so you don't have to, or maybe so you can is not for me to judge, but he's doing it either way. Renee Ruin, that fucking face on your face is on Letterboxd as well, logging things somewhat infrequently, but definitely.
I'm always logging. I've got to write reviews. Conan writes amazing reviews on Letterboxd.
Oh well, thank you. No, it's so
I
nice
always
of you to
read
say.
yours, but I'm lazy. I like to I give everything stars,
Yeah.
but I'm terrible at writing an actual review.
Yeah, it's you have to kind of get into the habit of doing it, and like for what exactly? I don't know. Oh wait, I mean, because it's a great idea and everybody should follow all of us on Letterboxd. Thank you very much. Mario Cesario, please take us away with the plugs, why don't you?
All right, you're watching us on YouTube, so please do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and of course the big ask is watch the video to the end. That lets other people find us in the algorithm, and you get to hear that great Conan Neutron song. So it's a fair trade. It's a fair trade.
The count off is.
Yeah, what is that? Is that your metronome?
Yeah, that exactly. What if you had they'd probably make them look if they have sweatpants for Hereditary, like a metronome that has like the tongue click.
Well, let's
thing.
create one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I can do it. We have the know-how.
Yeah, copyright 2023 Movie Night Extravaganza metronome.
We'll have to give it like a different name, like how like Knife Finger Guy is like Freddy Krueger. It'll be,
You have to have like a. What is it called? Like when it's not the real brand, it's a rip-off brand?
Yeah, it's an off. Yeah, like the Spirit Halloween version of like,
Yeah.
just close enough to avoid copyright litigation. Funny mouth noise metronome.
Yes. There we go. But find us on social media if you enjoy all this bits, because we're there. We're posting weird stuff. We're posting good stuff. We're posting informational stuff about the show, stuff about what we're doing. So find them. Follow us. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram. So there you go. Pick your poison.
There you go.
But if you really do want to help out the show,
because following us on social media is like picking a poison.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, social media is kind of a poison, but we are the
You're not wrong.
candy that you get to hide the taste of the poison.
We're definitely thinking about it. There's a question at the bottom there about comments about a crossover with Night Shift and Movie Night.
There we go. Let's change topics quickly. Yeah.
We are thinking. We have talked about it. Yes.
I'm game. Sounds good to me. I mean, you and Bonnie are on all the time anyway. Jenna's the only one that has not been on this show. So
yeah, all of us together, I think, would be a hive mind.
that'd be a lot. That'd be a lot of talking. Yeah.
Well, 3 women too.
We've done that before.
Yeah, we have.
But we've not. Let's see. Well, no, 3. Yeah, 3. Well, yeah, but depending on if Kristina was on. I have a rule. There's a rule of 6. What's if it's more than 6? I'm not on there anymore.
It's not. Yeah. It turns into chaos.
No, I'm not gonna do it where it looks like Hands Across America or something. I'm not looking for that.
No. But we have a Patreon if you want to help us out. Go to patreon.com /Movie Night Extravaganza, and you can after party forever. So you can catch up the last couple, which I think were a lot of fun, even though one was really short, but that's fine. Okay.
Whoa. That's a crazy gif.
Are we doing an after party tonight, or did we already do our after party?
I think we did it in the last half hour, frankly. But
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit high or something. Eh?
It's the 3B contact high.
Yeah.
Conan.
Yes.
You've been busy with Protonic Reversal now that you're back from tour.
In the fact that I've done exactly one episode, yes, which was,
and you have
which
one
was
coming
yesterday.
up like tomorrow.
Right. So I had Todd Trainer from the incredible band Shellac on last night. That was a really great episode. So that's up for patrons now. It'll be on the regular feed on Monday, and then tomorrow I'm having Brian Cook from Russian Circles and Sumac and These Arms Are Snakes and Botch, which of course Botch are back together again for people that are fans. And I'm fitting it in because otherwise there's no way it's happening until all this stuff is all those shows are over. So I'm sucking it up and doing a Saturday edition Protonic specifically Brian, because I think that's gonna be a great one. And
and if
next
people
week
wanna
is
get that- sorry.
I was gonna say next week is Gary Floyd of the Dicks too, and Sister Double Happiness, which I'm also looking forward to. But that's next week. That's like I'm gonna do like 70 streams before then, I'm sure.
Yes, and if you want to get access to these early, like you can, it's just $1 a month on Patreon.
Yes, and I lost a few patrons because I basically didn't do the show for almost a month because I was on tour, and it's it's no harm no foul. People can dip out, but it's $1 a month isn't that much, and it helps keep the lights on. So if people like the show, then that's something that they should consider doing.
Yeah, and of course, there's always Getting Adult Prom, which is available now.
Yes, it's available now, shipping immediately in all formats, and there's a Bandcamp Friday next Friday, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think it might be, yep.
So people that are upset about Bandcamp, literally the only way the artists can get paid in any equitable manner, and they're upset about like the new owners kind of running riot all over the place. Understandable. That's a day where it goes all to the artists who need it. Speaking as an artist myself, give me money.
It's
tour was successful, not that successful.
But when I saw They Might Be Giant many years ago, they said, please go to our merch store. You can buy this album in the stores, but why do that when you can buy it from us and we get all the money?
Word, no, that's very real. And so. Yeah, it's a great LP. We just spent, week and a half covering the West Coast with the Mighty Lung, like playing those songs with them, and I wish it was 3 times longer. But and if you're not on the West Coast, you might be wondering when's coming to you. Spring is the answer. Not any time for the rest of the year. That's a fact. But you can buy records, and I think we may have a new T-shirt designed by then. We will see. I don't want to promise anything, but it's about time. So
Yes, and I think that was everything there, right? We didn't leave anything out for you.
I don't have any shows coming up. I got stuff to announce for the spring, but not now.
Yeah, let's wait till next year for that.
Yeah.
Kristina sadly couldn't join us, but please go to her Patreon, patreon.com/cosmopolitics. Support her. Check out her Twitch channel whenever she gets on there, whenever that happens to be. And Renee, of course, is the host of
The Most. I don't know.
Really? Did you have a senior moment there? Like, what happened?
I was just realizing that I didn't write anything down. I just have still Ray Gun Bush and KT, and I'm like,
those people are not on this episode, so
no. And I realized that I've been drawing all day, and I forgot to write down the night shift.
So you got Night Shift.
Renee Ruin is the host of the Night Shift podcast, a horror podcast that is excellent.
Yes, and we have a new episode of A Night Shift coming up, which is going to be on.
Thank you, Abby. You're just saying that because you took the promo photos, but thank you.
On the movie No One Will Save You, which is a really awesome invasion sci-fi thriller, and that's coming up on November 4th, 5th. So 4th,
nice.
LA time, 8 p.m., which is the 5th in Australia at 2 p.m. And then talking about cults, middle of the month, the episode I'll be doing with Murder, Sex, Alien podcast. I'll be talking about The Family, which is an Australian cult. And yeah, that one will be coming out mid. So that will be awesome.
When's
And
the episode on Triple B? That's what I want to know.
yeah, we. That's our private.
That's what we call it. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
Patreon episode. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's our private. Yeah,
April
and
1st.
then later in the month, we will be talking with the Addams family. Zelda Addams and Toby Poser will be coming on to talk about their new film, which drops on Tubi. I think the second week of November. So we'll be talking about that later in November. And one more. Girls to the Front zine is now out with my beautiful double page spread, which is a nice piece that I wrote about music and mental health, and then all my collage art. You can go to www.girlstothefrontzine.com and buy that.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It looks great. I just got a bunch of copies in the mail.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, it looks fab.
I think I saw the pictures from that.
Oh, well, actually, I got some more pictures. Yeah, because I just got a bunch dropped off at my house.
Oops.
A couple of days ago. So yeah, I got some nicer pictures. I will send you, Andrew, the Zoomy versions.
I was trying to put the URL in the chat.
Oh, all right.
And I accidentally highlighted somebody talking about how great my record was. So,
which it is great. So.
Well, it's girls.
They're not
number
wrong.
2, by the way. It's girls 2, number 2 to the front.
Oh, did I just put the wrong one in? Okay.
It's just boring.
Because I think something you.
I don't know. Maybe it is. Hold on.
Yeah. So it's.
Well, I don't know if it's porn, but.
No, it's not porn. I mean, there's some pictures with limited clothes, I guess.
Oh, okay. So the Instagram count is girls number 2, the front zine, but
and the
website is just TO to the front.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
I'm just dropping it in.
I did not, in fact, link to porn, which would be unfortunate.
Yes.
So that's me for now. And you can follow me, Renee Ruin, on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, everywhere. TikTok.
Blue Sky. Oh, I forget about Threads. Are we on Threads? Probably not.
I have no clue.
No, you're individually on Threads.
Okay.
Movie Night is on Threads. I think I've reposted something.
Can I tell you? You could tell which shows I was worried about people coming out to because I posted on Threads. There's like 2 or 3.
I'm
where
terrible
it's like...
at Blue Sky and Threads. I've got to say, I'm shocking.
Yeah, I've been good at Blue Sky since.
I haven't even. You reminded me today that I need to actually log into my Blue Sky and see.
I've been good since I got both my Twitter accounts banned.
Yeah.
So I'm just now just on Blue Sky.
Yeah, because you're in Twitter prison, so I understand.
Yeah. So
I've been using Spoutable.
I've only used Threads. I just posted on Threads last night because it wouldn't let me retweet your thing on Threads because it said you're private or something. I don't know. What
my Renee Ruin one is private because people. I'm like, go to Twitter if you want to see the uncut version, peeps. That's where my uncut whatevers go. And Threads, anyone can see them. They're public, so that's why I zoomed them. Just keeping it real,
Keep it at 100.
Absolutely. Is that it, Andy?
I think so.
Do you have anything?
What about you?
What about me? Not I mean, outside of checking me out on Give Them an Argument, and the cover of what's that book I did?
I regret asking already, by the way.
Cerruti, Shadow of the People.
There you go. So go look that up and
Andrew does all of our amazing art for all these movie night podcasts, which I always.
Sometimes he does it twice.
Sorry, Andy. But I always try to credit Andy at the bottom of our posts. That
I always appreciate that
because he does the art for free and for the love of. So you should actually make a gallery or something, Andy, of every single one you've done.
I've been working on that on stuff, but it's so much work because I'm always busy drawing and doing other stuff.
Yeah, you need some downtime to do that, I think.
Yeah, you need to sit and troll.
There you go.
Me trying to do all the IMDb's.
There's the too hot for YouTube.
Yeah.
Although now I guess we're putting it on YouTube, aren't we? So.
Well, just for a second, they wouldn't let me do it as a thumbnail, but I'm sure for like 1 second putting it on screen, we had Andy do this as the original.
It's just the tip theory. Thank you.
This is I get to find out what my head. It is just the tip of the head. I don't know.
I mean, you are bald, so
Yeah.
you know.
Oh God.
No,
Waka,
but like,
waka, waka.
well, it's just the head of the. Never mind.
Oh God. Roll on.
Next. Yeah. What's next?
No, but this was Andy's original conceptual piece, and it's fucking my head, and I get to find out what my head looks like covered in ants, and the bug kind, not like covered in crying, like ants that are crying and uncles because I'm dead. But like so I appreciated this art, but then I felt like YouTube was gonna fucking instantly strike that down.
Yeah, they're getting real puritanical for whatever reason. Unless you're spouting conspiracy theories, in which case it's fine.
They sound their new code of like whatever sounds like the Hays Code. They're like, oh, you can't encourage bad decisions. What is that even like? But they don't tell you what bad.
Have you seen your site, sir? That's all you're doing.
Do you even know what you are?
Yeah. Moving extravaganza soundtrack on vinyl with Andy's art in the sleeve. That sounds great. Who's paying for that?
I think Stevie is.
Yeah, Stevie. Yeah, great. Daddy Warbucks over here. Why don't you get that project started? I mean, I'm in. It sounds great.
I think we could have a fun time.
Again, to the point, there's enough of both though. I mean, I think like a book and a CD we could probably pull off. Whatever. Nobody cares. Anyway, what are we doing? Final thoughts? What's happening?
Final thoughts. Renee, what's your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is my favorite Ari film. It's just it's got every. I just love the semantics. I love the aesthetics. I love the language. I love the symbolism. There's just so much going on in this film. So many layers. It's not a simple horror film, and it actually. It's almost about the horror of real life and grief and death and, how dealing with all this stuff and family. And I love all the connections with, the occult, with psychiatry, with, just everything in it. I just love this film. And I thought all the performances were incredible. I absolutely, my final thought is this: it's a fucking great film. Go watch it if you haven't seen it already. If you have seen it already, go watch it again and see if you can pick all these amazing nuggets that are out throughout the whole film.
Watch the corners.
Watch the corners. Watch the darkness. Take note. There's lots going on. And if you want to get on your Google, you can spend hours going through Hereditary minefield rabbit hole forever.
Just fire up Ask Payman and...
I'm making everybody watch the corners right now to get them trained for that.
Yeah.
Watch the corners. Watch the corners. And please don't use lighter fluid on your children or husband anytime soon.
It's good advice.
Especially not if you're going to throw your book in the
fire.
Yeah.
Watch out for nuts.
It's pretty funny that his name's Gabriel Burns. Like,
yeah,
he definitely does in this movie.
Bad jokes again.
There we go.
Andy, you got some final thoughts?
Yeah, this was fun to actually finally sit down and watch because, like I said, I had it ruined whenever it came out, and I'm just like not just ruined, like oh, the head comes off. No, the whole ending, the demon possession, like who was possessed the entire like.
Who did you sit there and get it ruined? Like,
I don't remember, honestly.
Conversation, like.
So then the cult, I can just imagine like a little demon, an actual demon sitting on Andy's chest.
Maybe it was one of my children.
But instead of actual sleep paralysis demon, it's just spoiling the plots of movies he wants to see.
Yeah.
This movie gets everything wrong about being a demon. Let me tell you.
I think what it was trying to figure out if it was good or not, and that's what I found out was the entire plot of the film.
Oh God, yes, I forgot about that scene. Golden.
The thing about this pitch is it's a horror movie, but you don't understand what kind of horror it is until after the pitch is over.
I like the idea of like, because we talked about like, oh, musicians watch movies about musicians and they're like, this movie is nothing like what it's like. But I like the idea that the demons watching all the possession movies, like, and he's just like, this is not what it's like to be a demon at all.
He says it's not true to life. I said, you ever seen a motion picture before, kid? Come on.
He's like this seance. It's just, the thing talks out of your voice. That's not how this stuff goes at all.
We're in the business of entertainment. It's the business of show. It's not the business of documentaries. That's a different alligator.
Documentary gator.
Oh,
yes.
Documentiger gator.
Or he could be a crocodile. We could have a different.
He's the crocodile tears. Documentary crocodile.
Crocodile Doc D.
The documentary Crocodile Dundee.
There you go.
It's low to croc.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, were you done with your final thoughts?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, go ahead.
I had one more thing that I just wanted to add. My favorite thing in doing research for this is finding out that Millie Shapiro, after every scene, when Ari Aster called cut, she would just go like this at the end of it. Which makes me want to see all of those like moments in a supercut.
All the behind the scenes.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the Prestige.
Yeah, like
Broadway dies hard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Conan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with Renee. This is my favorite Ari Aster so far. It's a stunning example of creeping dread. I think this is one of the only horror movies I can think of in many years that's actually moved the genre forward a bit. I was so affected by this the first time I saw it, I actually didn't log it. So the second time, as I mentioned, I checked the whole frame and it's just informed by it. It was a way different experience. So many hidden, subtle things that were just really added to the experience. And also, it's a great movie to show to people that have not seen it before and don't know anything about it as well. I think the cinematography and shot composition's kind of off the scale awesome. We didn't really talk about that.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
This much, but it definitely deserves a shout out. This is absolutely best watched knowing as little as possible and let it all unfold. Basically the opposite of Andy's experience originally. This is a slow burn of emotional torment, and it's undeniably creepy. And the event that happens in the first third is so shocking and disturbing, it sticks with you long after. However, it's all about those last 30 minutes, though. Whew.
This is it moving the genre forward.
Jesus. The actual scene though, where Peter is saying this, like the dialogue is brilliant. That goes with that GIF that we keep playing.
Toni Collette getting an Oscar snub on this is a damn crime, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Too. She was amazing in this, and she's generally very, very good. But this was like,
it's what do you call it? It's horror. What do you call it? Like
elevated horror?
No, it's like baby discrimination. Like it's like horror discrimination. It's like it's a horror film, so we're not taking it seriously.
Yeah, go get your Fangoria award, kid.
Fangoria awards, is it?
Whatever that is.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Halloween, on All Hallows Eve for The Exorcist. So.
Oh, are you doing The Exorcist? I didn't know.
Yep. Seance.
The definitive new version just came out. Just kidding.
I just watched the new. I just watched that new one.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Reagan has a tiny little thing at the end, and the mum's in it. So you know.
I saw that one line with Ellen Burstyn where she's like, she was like, the reason I couldn't be involved in the exorcism was the patriarchy this whole time.
Yes, yeah. It was the patriarchy.
And this show is also the patriarchy. So
just like the 8 demon men kings of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they say like, women wouldn't start wars or whatever. There's no women demons.
More female demon kings.
Go off, Queen.
I want equality.
That's Hillary Clinton's final form.
Yeah. Wow.